Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series, the edited version. Originally streamed live at twitch.tv/dualitiesdownfall. More information in the description. Your Words Destroyed My Planet. Chapter 36. It is way too late when you get home. Technically, it's way too early. That's how late you are. Sure, Equius tried to get you to stay overnight rather than go back tired, but after he'd also quietly offered to prescribe you anything you needed for any problems with your mood or your sleep, you wanted out of there. Not that you think Equius has any bad motivations or anything. He's a stand-up guy, but that kind of thing is wildly unsettling for you. Actually, you feel a little bad for bailing on him. Shit, the guy even apologized to you for giving you eyes in the first place. He said you didn't make a free choice or whatever about it because you being a balancer and the captain's rules about that meant that you had to have surgery. And, okay, you probably wouldn't have signed up for cyborg eyeballs if you hadn't been a balancer, but that's about as useful a thing to think of as what you'd have for breakfast if you'd grown up on Earth. Sure, maybe you can think about what you'd have done then, but it's pointless because that's not the situation you're in. Equius didn't seem reassured. On the plus side, he's nearly done with your eyes, and he did something to your ears that ought to get you the rest of the way to your normal hearing, so that's a win. You open your front door and kick your shoes off, wincing when they hit the coffee table. You hear movement ahead of you from the direction of Solix's room. Dave, what are you doing home? Solix asks, his voice rumbly and tired.
I live here, you tell him.
Yeah, but I thought you weren't getting...
Oh, okay, that's the time it is. That explains why I'm tired and my eyes feel like I've got sand in them.
Solix says and yawns.
What are you even doing?
You ask him as you trace your way along the wall and grab Beck's bowls. I sat down and the first thing I saw was this stupid virus, so I pretty much went back to work trying to work on fixing it. Lost track of time, I guess. Solix sighs. His chair creaks and you hear him make a quiet sound as he stretches and then hear his arms fall back to his sides. You put kibble into Beck's bowl, trying to focus on that, but a lot of your mind is trained on Solix walking over to you. Sure, you could say that it's because you're twitchy about people sneaking up on you or wanting to know where people are when you're blind, but mostly it's because it's Solix. To say you have a thing for Solix being close to you is an understatement. How's the hospital? Solix asks when he's closer.
Same as always. Equius thinks he might have my eyes done pretty soon, and he said I'm basically healed now, so that's something.
You tell him. That's pretty good for a guy who got spaced, Solix observes. You want to argue that you didn't really get spaced. You weren't out there long, and sure it sucked, but it wasn't... You're fine. You also get the feeling that if you try to argue that, Solix will mark you, so you think that you'll avoid that particular avenue of discussion. Instead, you walk off to get back new water.
How was your ghostly family therapy?
You ask instead. It went about as well as I'd hoped. It was always going to be emotional, but I think Nepeta and Karkat are cool now, and I think Nepeta and Disciple are okay as well. But, you know, there were feelings. It's fine to say, of course you can love someone else when I've died, but when you have to see it happen, that sucks. I sympathize and everything, but I think you're lucky that you can't understand Signless. Listening to him and Karkat around each other is an endless loop of holding themselves to dumb standards, and then the other one calls him out on it, only for the same thing to happen again 10 minutes later the other way around, Solix says in exasperation. Something of that is very reminiscent of watching Dirk and Hal grow up together, angrily pointing out their shared traits that they hate in each other. You'll pass on that, thanks.
Eventually they might get self-aware.
You say with optimism, and return with Beck's water. Here's hoping, Solix mutters. Go on, Beck. Eat. I'm gonna go to bed. You say that last part to Solix and hear him draw in a breath and hold it for a second. I was actually hoping I could talk to you about something, he says carefully.
That doesn't sound like a good something. What's wrong?
You ask, your mind running through possibilities. So, Signless and Bro kind of got into it when I got back to the hive. Signless and Sai were with me, and I opened my door, and Bro was pulling that jump scare move again. I literally jumped so hard I hit my head on the ceiling. Signless wasn't a fan, and Solix hesitates.
Great. Did you tell Karkat how long it takes for the ghost to come back, or I guess you wouldn't know so much. Bro's only got Sai the one time. I'll troll him now,
you say, reaching for your palm husk reluctantly. Bro didn't kill Signless, Solix says, and your hand freezes.
Oh, you said Psionic was there too, so he got there before Bro could then?
You ask. No, not that either. Signless heard about what Bro was pulling. He got the fact that it's not just him trying to scare me, but that Bro's trying to get in my head, so it's like someone's always watching, even if I can't...
Solix starts. Can we not?
You interrupt him, your skin already prickling with the sensation of eyes on you. Sorry. The point is that Signless apparently isn't cool with that kind of thing. Not really surprising, since he died for equality and love and all that. He had me translate for him. Told Bro that pain and death are kind of meaningless for them, and he didn't want to do that. Solix goes on, without stopping to check that you're okay and your precious little feelings aren't hurt.
That sounds really shitty in your head.
You know he isn't thinking of it like that. It's just you. You actually do appreciate him not fussing at you. It keeps you calmer, weirdly enough.
I'm guessing Bro's response was something along the lines of, it's kind of wild that Signless thinks he gets a say in being hurt or killed.
You say, instead of any of that. More or less. Oh, wait. Before that, Sai was going to attack Bro, and Signless held him back, so Bro made some comment about it being clear who was the man in that relationship, and Signless made me explain what that meant.
Solix groans. Of all the times for Karkat to not be around to give a long talk about the differences between human ideas and troll ones.
You wince. Right? But I explained it anyway, which led to Sai losing his shit laughing in Bro's face and saying that no wonder he's such a bitch, no one wants to rail him. That's a direct quote. He stitched together actual words to tell your shitty biological father that maybe he'd be less awful if he'd got some dick when he was alive. That's not actually relevant, but it's unbelievably funny, and I'd be the worst person if I didn't tell you about it. Solix laughs.
I can only imagine how pissed Bro was.
You say in shocked awe. So mad. Anyway, the actual thing I wanted to talk to you about was what Signless did after that. Bro went to attack him, but Signless put his hand in Bro's chest. It didn't kill him. It broke him up into, I don't know what you'd call it, fragments of himself, maybe? He looked like a bad jigsaw or a broken mirror. Solix says softly.
He used to be like that before he died. It started out as incoherent nonsense, but the more of him I got, the more I could understand him. A lot of it was just memories, though.
You nod. Yeah, this was like that. Signless was sifting through his memories, playing them out, almost. The room was full of them, and obviously Bro wasn't... I'm not sure if it hurt, but he didn't like it, that's for sure. Signless stopped after he found one that... Solix hesitates.
One that what? You prompt him.
I don't know if you want me to tell you about this. Normally I wouldn't think about it, but I don't want to mess with your head about Bro. Solix says uneasily.
Since when did you start handling me with kid gloves?
You ask him as a fence prickles up the back of your neck. I'm not, but if the situation was reversed and you'd found something that said that I was the one who was supposed to be kidnapped and helmed instead of Matuna, I think you'd check that I was able to deal with hearing something that fucked up and traumatic before telling me. If it was anything else, I wouldn't be saying it. Solix says sharply.
So it's something that bad then, okay?
Well, now you feel a little bit shitty for getting on his case about it. You must still be touchy after the whole medical ordeal earlier, and Equius offering you medication for your emotional state, or whatever.
Fair enough. Sorry for snapping. Hit me. You tell him.
Solix doesn't exactly laugh, but you can hear that sudden exhale that's almost one. You can picture the small, amused look on his face, too.
You didn't piss me off that much. Don't be dramatic. Solix teases you.
You purse your lips like you're trying to be all stern and disapproving, but you're not sure how well that carries across, or maybe Solix isn't especially susceptible to it. Okay, serious time. Signless got this one fragment of Bro. All of them had been talking or shouting. It was right in my head, not even something I heard. I think there was one there when he found out about the other Dave dying. His brother. Signless stopped when he found one he was yelling at Bro himself, going on about how this was wrong. What was he doing? Those are his kids. You're his son. How can he do all this? Solix says. You breathe in sharply and hold your breath for a moment. Signless let him go after that, and Bro hauled ass out of there. I asked Signless if that was the good in him or something, but Signless was pretty clear that the bar for being good isn't... It's not knowing what he did to you and does to you is wrong. Solix goes on.
You managed to get out.
You feel some kind of way about that. Solix was right. You needed to be forewarned about that. The idea that Bro has a voice in his head telling him that what he's doing is wrong is a lot to think about. Though, to be fair, it's not like he really thought he didn't have that. Just because he's a monster doesn't make him not human, and the idea that you have to be missing that to do terrible things isn't right either. Perfectly normal people can do incredibly evil shit. It's more that you always thought Bro believed the shit he said. That he really thought he was justified in what he did, and when it was just a case of him fucking with your head for his own amusement, he was clear that his motive was just that. No conscience required for that. If he felt conviction and justification, then nothing would tell him that his actions were wrong. But if there's some part of Bro that knows that he's wrong, that saw you and your siblings as kids and recoiled in horror at what he was doing, but then did it anyway, that's somehow worse to think about. Beck's nose bumps your leg, and you pet his head absently. You're not going to fall apart. He doesn't need to do anything. Are you okay? Solix asks quietly.
Not really. I'm probably gonna think about that a lot when I can't sleep at night, but whatever. He obviously doesn't feel bad enough about anything to stop, so it doesn't matter. I can't do anything about it.
You tell him, though you can hear how tight your voice sounds. That was kind of Signless's point. A hurt people again and I do this again kind of deal. Solix adds.
Playing pretty hardball for a guy who was all peace and love, isn't he?
You say. It was pretty intense, but given that his options were get into a physical fight that just reset and achieve nothing, do nothing and let other people suffer, or do whatever that was, I get it. Also, he is a Vantis. Being intense about things they feel passionate about is pretty much a contractual obligation that comes with the name. Solix says flatly. He's probably rolling his eyes or something. Soon you'll be able to do that yourself and be sarcastic properly again. Soon. You try to think about what all of this means. You're not considering Bro's possible conscience because either the idea is horrifying or there's a risk that you might think you can get through to him, that you can change him. Nothing good is down that path. You need to accept that. There's nothing about Bro as a person that meant he had to be this way. He doesn't struggle with knowing right from wrong. He doesn't find empathy impossible to understand because he exploits the ways people feel all the time. He chooses to be how he is, to act the way he does, and say the things he does. There's no way to crack this where Bro suddenly realizes that he was the worst all along and does a moral 180 into the parent he could have been. Even if he could or would do that, you don't want him. The hope that you had as a little kid, the idea that if you were what he wanted you to be, then he'd be the parent other kids had, needs to stay as dead as bro is. Deader, even. More dead. Whatever. So, Silas can do something to bro that hurts him in a way that's not just physical. He can make him look at himself. He can break him apart again. If it works as a deterrent to get bro to back the hell off of all of you, then great. You'd hoped that your talk with bro about him not destroying the things in your life that protected you from the void would make him back off, but evidently not. You don't know if bro doesn't care, if he thinks you can take it anyway, or just can't resist being the biggest asshole around. You're not going to hold out hope that it'll work, but it'd be nice. Just so long as it doesn't destroy bro. You need him to do your job. You probably should be jumping at the chance to destroy bro. You dying would kill him, but if someone could remove him, it probably wouldn't kill you. Theoretically, you'd be normal again. You should want that, but for reasons that don't take a psychology degree, the idea of being powerless and helpless against an antagonist much bigger than you is deeply upsetting. You're not keen to go back to that.
Bro looked okay, though, right? When Silas was done with him?
You ask warily. He came back together, if that's what you mean. He didn't look like he was made up of pieces anymore. Not that I saw him for long. He wasn't going to hang around. I was a little worried that it might screw with how balancing works for you. That's the other reason I wanted to talk to you about this. Solix answers you.
I guess we'll see tomorrow when we test out balancing.
You sigh, suddenly tired. Solix makes a noise of agreement, and you hear Beck's tail whap repeatedly against something. You think Solix might be scratching Beck's head or that one spot behind his ears.
I'm going to brush my teeth and sleep for 1,000,000 years now. It beats thinking about any of that.
You say with a sigh. I think I'll shower after you do that and get a few hours of sleep. I want to go to work in the morning to talk to some of the others. I know what I want the thing I'm working on to do, and if someone else takes it, they're going to screw it up unless I tell them exactly what to do. Solix mutters.
If I was Carcad, or maybe even Hal, I'd be making a comment about you and coding or assessment of other people's skills. Control issues, maybe. But I don't care, you're probably right, so have fun with that, I'm gonna sleep. I will drag your ass away from whatever housetop you're in front of when it comes time for me to learn you some shit, though. You warn him.
Teach, Solix calls after you as you head to the bathroom.
I said what I said, you retort.
Yeah, and it was wrong, he answers back instantly.
If you have a complaint, I have a form for that on my website,
you tell him. You start to brush your teeth and allow the tiredness from the late hours start to seep into you. When you hear the incredibly glitchy sound effects of the awful animated sweet bro slam dunking a screwed up complaint through a basketball hoop and into an inexplicable nuclear explosion, you can't help but grin. It means all the toothpaste foam dribbles out of your mouth and into the sink, and you have to lean over or else risk aspirating it from trying to laugh quietly. Solix's footsteps come closer, and he stops at the doorway. You try to repress your amusement, but you don't manage it completely. You smoothly stand up and turn to him, toothbrush still in your mouth.
Was it a satisfying complaint procedure? You ask around your toothbrush, definitely mangling your words.
You hear him draw in a breath, and you distinctly wish you could see him right now. You've never liked getting under someone's skin this much. Sure, you always enjoyed poking Carcat to make him flip out, but that was more because the things he does to words when he's pissed is a thing of beauty. You didn't actually want to carefully and thoughtfully set up situations to get a reaction out of him. But with Solix, it's like an itch that you can't help but scratch at. You want to... It's pitch. Sending Solix to your terrible website because you know its terrible art and design gets to him is the same kind of thing as drawing each new plant that Jade discovers and putting them into a little 3D program so she's got her own digital garden. It's understanding what something means to someone and using that to get a reaction from them, and also proving that you care enough to know that shit.
You, Solix says darkly, dragging you out of your amazement that this is very, very pitch of you. Management cares about your opinion, you say brightly, because apparently you cannot stop. That was definitely a growl you caught there, very quiet and low. Evidently, Equius's thing is restoring the very far ranges of your hearing, and doing it quicker than you thought. Most people can't catch that sound. Human people, at least. It is way too late to... he starts. Technically, it's early. You interrupt. Why don't you have an off button for talking? Oh, yep, that's definitely the quiet, bassy noise of frustration you're getting there. Perhaps being rewarded for saying shit isn't the best way to make you stop. You know what? Solix says sharply. You would very much like to know what! Solix's hand slowly touches your side for a second, and you jump a little at the sudden contact, but you're not moving away. You realize, as his hands move, that he was doing that just so he didn't startle you. His hands travel down your sides quickly, and for a moment you think he's just gonna grab your ass out of nowhere, which would be a weird escalation from you-know-what, but you're not opposed. That thought goes out of the window, and instead, Solix leans down, wraps his arms around your legs, and then just picks you up. You make a graceless, startled sound and end up halfway over his shoulder. In fairness, you're not a particularly heavy guy, since your job requires a pretty high level of athleticism. You're also a little shorter than Solix, and your build is more lean than buff for the most part. He also picked you up in a pretty sensible way for carrying something heavy, using his legs more than his arms. But, still, you have feelings about this. Especially as he walks out of the bathroom with you, it's evident that he is actually carrying you physically and not helping with his psionics. Solix gets back into the main room and puts you back down on the floor. Your heart is in your throat, but to your stunned dismay, he walks away from you back into the bathroom and shuts the door behind him. Hey! He just got you all in a flutter and then ditched you to annoy you! As revenge for the thing that you did! That's definitely not like the needling him on purpose that you've been doing, no. I still have my toothbrush, you tell the shut door. Tragic, Solix says from the other side of the door, and you hear the shower switch on. You lick the toothpaste foam from your lip and consider this one a win for Solix. Toothbrush still in hand, you go to your room, Beck rushing there before you and opening the door himself. You didn't need a doggy butler. You were totally capable of opening that yourself, but sometimes Beck does what he wants. You leave your toothbrush carefully on the edge of your desk, change for bed, and go to sleep. It feels like moments later when a buzzing wakes you, like you'd only just settled down to that dreamy state of half-sleep before being jolted out of it. Except you can feel the imprint of your pillow on your face, and your internal clock, after a few moments of lag, suggests that more time has passed than you think. Also, that's the front door. You sit up and rub at your face for a second as Beck barks at the front door to remind you that someone is there. You throw a hoodie on, since you're cold from the rude deprivation of your bedding. After that, you grab your sunglasses, since you're unbandaged right now. You open the door with a smack of the button and with your hand on Beck's back. Yeah? You say to whoever is out there. I tried messaging you. I guess you didn't read it, your brother says. You can tell the difference between Hal and Dirk from voice alone, but not when you're this tired and from one sentence. So he rang the bell, which means no key, which means Dirk. Bye, Dirk, you say flatly, and reach for the button. No, not Dirk! Hal, he says hastily. You're suspicious, but you wait, hand still on the button to close the door. I wanted to talk to you about something, but I said I'd give you space. I was going to wait, but I can't. It didn't mean I was going to just let myself in, though. I'm trying to stick to at least some of what I said, he says, and yeah, that's Hal's voice. You woke me up. I haven't seen anything. That wasn't a joke. You add that last part as an afterthought. I can come back later, Hal says slowly, but it's clear that he doesn't want to. Look, whatever this is, I'm not doing it in the hall, so come inside already. I think Solix is out. He said he'd be at work this morning.
You tell him, stepping back inside your home so Hal can come in.
Yeah, he already messaged me about it. I sort of wanted to do this alone,
Hal says, and walks inside. You shut the door after him.
We should probably talk about all the shit you all pulled. You sigh. Oh, okay. I wasn't here for that. I figured we were doing that on your own time after what you said, but I don't want to talk about my thing, so I'm fine with procrastinating that if you want to talk about basically anything else,
Hal says with a weak laugh. Interesting. You walk around to the lounge plank and sit down. He follows suit.
I was kind of drunk. Okay, really drunk the last time we talked. But I remember enough about what you said that you actually sounded sorry and you weren't trying to push it. You got out as well, which was for me instead of you, and...
You gesture a little helplessly.
Yeah, the shorter version is that what happened to you was horrific, and the idea that you were still in a similar situation was unbearable. But I was so caught up in that fear, and also the thought that I'd let you down already and couldn't do it again. I hadn't helped you back then. I was even envious about Bro showing some kind of interest in you instead of me, even though now that thought makes me sick. If I'd thought about things without focusing about my own feelings about your situation, then maybe I'd have done this better, or at least caught that stupid mistake of storing files we didn't want released. Not the point. I acted out of love, which sounds good. You're my brother. I love you. I'd die for you. But it's the shitty parts of love, too. Fear, guilt, destruction. We weren't playing a video game with you as the helpless plot device character in need of dramatic rescue. It wasn't destroy the system in order to get an end credit screen. I love you. I wanted to save you and protect you, but I did it shittily, and I'm sorry. That's my fault.
Hal says. It's not like he rehearsed that, but it's clearly been going around in his head.
I kind of knew that. About how everyone thought Mom and Bro were involving me in their research. Well, they were, just not in a bring your kid to work day kind of way.
You say softly.
I'm so sorry,
Hal whispers.
You couldn't have known, and I wasn't going to tell you. I know you would have done something if I told you about it, but if I did, and they thought that you knowing made you someone they wanted to research, yeah, I wasn't doing that. Not to mention getting you all killed. I wasn't sitting around hating you for not knowing. I was making sure you didn't. You point out. You should never have had to do that. That's not a position you should have ever been in,
Hal insists. You shrug. There's no point thinking about how things should have been. There's a silence between the two of you. Hal's probably overthinking things. It's not like you're waiting for anything here, so you may as well speak.
So we're clear, that stunt fucked a lot of shit up. Shit that I'm still having to fix. The whole, we're probably pirates now, had to give up my eyes for ages and blow out my eardrums, told a whole ship about my traumatic past kind of shit. That's not okay. I'm not cool with that. I'm still mad about that. You tell him. Yeah, I think not cool is probably an understatement for all of that.
Hal agrees.
But I get why you did it. I mean, I get what you mean when you tell me how you were thinking. You know what you did, you know why, and you've not tracked me down to yell at me. So, I'm still hurt. I guess that's the word, even if it seems kind of weak, but I get it. I can live with it, and honestly, man, I'm tired. You're still my brother, and I love you. I'm just tired of not being around you and being okay.
You tell him. Oh, Hal says, his voice high and strained.
Oh?
You repeat skeptically. That's not the reaction to accepting his apology and sort of saying you can be okay again.
That makes my thing less... shit.
Hal groans.
Weird take on a response to apology accepted, but okay.
You say slowly.
No, I'm delighted by that, don't get me wrong, but the part about being around me makes the thing I came here to talk to you about sound really shitty.
He insists. You give him a look. You don't see him, but you give a look anyway. It suggests that he should spit it out already.
Solix told me... Well, I told him...
Hal flounders for a moment and tries again.
When we were at work, he practically jumped out of his skin. If I didn't know about all this, I'd have thought he was talking to no one, but he wasn't. It was Bro. Solix told me about this. He showed up, and afterwards you explained exactly the point of that whole thing. He's not here, by the way, if that's what you were worried about.
You add.
I figured you wouldn't have had this conversation if he was, but that's good to know.
Hal says quietly.
I can usually make him leave.
You point out, and Hal makes a soft noise to show that he heard you. There's a pause, where you're waiting for Hal to say more, but he's not. You can hear him subtly fidgeting, though. Not full body moving around, but scratching at the back of his neck or tugging at his clothes slightly.
It's that thing where you can talk about things our parents did. You can mention it and be okay, but then you have to explain how it felt or why they did it or what you thought, or worse still, how you think they thought, and it's suddenly so much worse. Telling Solix that Bro used to scare us and play mind games is one thing, but explaining that I still do things now that I started doing back then to try to stop Bro seeing things that I wanted to keep secret is something else. I don't have any pictures of me from the first time I cut my hair short. I don't have the list of names I came up with before I picked Hal. I don't have the first specifically men's clothes that I got still. I shoplifted the sample size from the store and wore it for the day, and I knew Bro would know that I couldn't keep it anywhere at home, so I tossed it in the trash on the other side of the ship. We lived on this ship for 3 years. Bro was dead for years before I could buy clothes myself from a brand that only did men's clothes because I was paranoid that he could somehow see and I couldn't lie about it. Which was dumb because he was dead and he couldn't know. Only he could know and did.
Hal chokes out. And I didn't tell you. You whisper.
No, it's... God, no. I'm not saying that's your fault or you should have told me. You couldn't. I don't know what to think about it. On the one hand, he couldn't do shit to me and he had to see me. Isn't that the thing they say? Living well is the best revenge? I'm sure he hates seeing how good Dad was for us. On the one hand, I'm violently happy that he can't do shit about it and has to see us doing so much better without him. And I trust that you'd have told me if he was here when we started talking about this shit.
Hal goes on. And on the other hand? You ask. Hal pauses for a moment. You hear him fidget again. Thinking about it, you know the way he fidgets with his clothes when he's really uncomfortable is something he picked up back then, pulling his clothes away from places he didn't want them to stick to and show off.
You're not always around. If you're not looking at me, he could be there, right behind me. And I know that's the case for the whole ship, and I'm sure he's probably watched me sleep, and sorry, the thought of that makes me...
Hal shudders.
Oh. You don't want to come back here,
you say.
I know he could be anywhere, but being here and knowing he'd come here to talk to you and I wouldn't know is...
He starts.
No, I get it. This whole place is sketchy, and you can't unknow it. I'm more interesting for him than you, since he can get a reaction out of me because I can see and hear him. If you're not here, your odds are lower.
You tell him, before he can undercut his own feelings.
Yeah. I know it's irrational, and I know it's no different than how it was before. I know I don't have to worry about not reacting, because I can't tell if he's there or not. I know it's nothing compared to what you have to deal with when it comes to him, and I should be here for you to help however I can. But it still feels like this whole place is as dangerous as walking through the main room when they were passed out drunk or past their room in the middle of the night.
Hal says in a hurry. You reach out and put your hand on his shoulder. He tenses and then purposefully relaxes. Just being here hurts, doesn't it?
I get it. If I could get away from him, I'd want to as well. It's not stupid. I can promise you that if I'm around you and I don't need him, I can make him go away. I'll sure as shit tell you. But you're right. I can't always watch you here. Honestly, I'd be just as creepy if I did, and I don't want to turn into him by tracking you everywhere. Ugh.
You shudder at the thought and feel Hal do the same.
Dad says I can move back in with him for good if I want, if you're cool with it. June's giving me her room. She wants to move in with Terezi anyway.
Hal tells you.
It's okay, really. I'm not taking back accepting your apology and being okay with you again. You reassure him. Yeah, but you hate people moving.
Hal sniffs.
And now the whole ship knows about me, so if they want to try to kick me and Solix out of here over an empty room when we're saving everyone's asses, they can try. You snort. You're welcome?
Hal says weakly.
Pushing it. Did you want help packing your shit, or...
You offer.
I was going to get a courier bot to take it back, even if it means it'll probably take a day and some of my boxes might get held up for no obvious reason. I wasn't gonna make you borrow stuff to move me out like you did with Rose and Solix, but if you want to help me put things in boxes, that'd be cool, if you want.
Hal says, his voice quiet, like he knows he's offering a situation where you could just be brothers doing a normal thing together again. You'd much rather be his younger brother helping him pack stuff than the guy who saves the ship or this betrayal-wounded mess. He still hurt you, but you still love him and he still loves you. You want things to go back to normal with him because nothing he said made you think he didn't deserve that.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me grab my toothbrush from my room so I can get ready. You can order food and we'll get this thing done.
You say, and stand up.
Why is your toothbrush in your room?
Hal asks, in complete confusion.
Don't ask.
You say, and hurry off before he can actually decide to ask you more. You help Hal pack, as much as you can when you're blind at least. As much as you pride yourself on your independence when it comes to your sightless moments, it's not like you can compensate so much for it that you magically become not blind. Even Terezi's enhanced senses and synesthesia's pseudosight only gets her so far. In a room that's not your own, so you don't know the layout quite as well, you're kind of wrong-footed. Add on to that the fact that Hal's things are being moved about, so all your normal ways of mentally mapping your surroundings are hamstrung, and you find yourself pretty useless. What you can do is pack his things up in the most space-efficient way possible, so long as he hands things to you. You can neatly fold shirts into compact little squares with your eyes shut, or, in your case, on the other side of the ship in Equi's office. Being around Hal is weird. You weren't lying earlier. He's your brother, and you love him. You accepted his apology, and you understand why he did what he did, what drove him to do it, and what he thinks about it now. You believe him when he said that he thinks he was wrong. But it's still hard to change how you feel, like flicking a light switch.
How is everyone?
You ask, finally, as you Tetris Hal's possessions into one of the robo-courier-delivered boxes.
Family, you mean?
Hal asks, his voice careful. You nod, and there's a pause, a silence in speech, but to the tune of clattering clothes hangers.
Dad's trying to keep everyone in line, wants to make sure we give you space. He's Dad, you know? He's trying to keep calm and be empathetic, but we all know he feels like he failed you. June's pissed that we screwed the virus up so bad, and whenever she and Dirk talk, they fight about it. Roxy's devastated, and Rose has decided to play therapist to her since Dad tore into her and Dirk for tracking you down to that bar.
Hal lists off.
Tore into them, you repeat in shock. Well, not like that. He raised his voice, though, but it was mostly how he was disappointed and upset that they'd consider their own closure more important than your well-being and pushed it when you were clearly at a disadvantage. I'm paraphrasing, but him being disappointed.
Hal says that word with a note of horror. No one wants to disappoint Dad. It's the worst thing.
Jane's doing what Rose is, pretty much. Redirecting her own feelings into helping other people, which kind of means that Roxy is on 24/7 relapse watch, even though there's nothing to suggest she's even thinking of that. I tried to point that out, and they damn near killed me, so fuck that noise. It's basically just June and Dad who aren't pissy with me anyway, because I talked to you and it went kind of okay. Hal goes on. Yeah, well, you didn't come at me all sorry, not sorry, because we were right and you were wrong, and now I'm also going to lecture you about drinking in a bar I'm not even allowed into, you say bitterly. There is that. Jake and Dirk are not fighting exactly. Jake is refusing to talk to Dirk whenever anything nears the topics of the void, you, balancers, or any of that comes up. So Dirk's been sleeping at Dad's a lot too, and since Jake is talking to me, you can imagine how much Dirk likes me right now. Hal mutters that last part. Shit. I need to talk to June and Dad at least. Then I can figure out how to deal with everyone else. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. And I feel really shitty that it's screwing you over too. You say miserably. Hey, no. You're not responsible for what other people do. Besides, it's not like me and Dirk fighting is new, and it's not new that he treats me like... Ugh, forget it. I'm so relieved that you want to talk to me again at all, and after the shit you've been through, no one's got a right to demand you get over things at a pace that's convenient to us, Hal says, and you hear his bed shift as he sits down. Things were so much better back when none of them knew about this. Or you could just pretend that things were normal, so long as you didn't have to go in balance, and as long as you could ignore Bro, you could pretend things were normal. The longest, biggest stage play ever, and you had one of the lead roles of normal Dave who got past Bro's death, lives a normal life, has a cool job that's just about exploration, and has stable and normal relationships. You got to pretend like that was you, live it in a really method kind of way. And it was good. The performance wasn't just for you, of course. You were playing that part so your family could look at that cast photo with them in it and see that all you Strider kids got out okay. That Dad saved you all. Scars or not, you all grew up good and happy with everything firmly behind you. You wanted that for them. There's nothing to be done about your actual situation, and look at what knowing about it has brought them. It was better for you to play the part, so you got to live that reality some of the time, and they got to exist with a fiction that was better than a truth they could do nothing about. It's not like this was all some deliberate deception on your part. A lot of it was out of your hands. It wasn't up to you if they knew, so if they were going to be lied to either way, then couldn't you at least make it a good lie? Didn't someone say something once about all the world being a stage? It's true. Even with other people, it's just different plays, different roles and scenes. With the sailors, you're the balancer that saves them, the easiest to approach among the four of you, since Gamzee and Aradia can be different kinds of sinister, and Fazer has had a habit of being really deep whenever people talk to him. You're the balancer who fixes problems, and you never, ever acknowledge your past with Bro. It's off the script. Even Jake, who sees you both as younger brother Dave, who's doing good now on the stage of your family, and as Dave the Balancer, doesn't see you backstage where you actually balance. He's not behind the scenery, moving the set, or changing the lights. He doesn't see the ghosts that you balancers work with, just the outcome of their work. How many stages and parts are there? Who you were for Jade, who you were for your friends? You think that Bro did this to you, him and Mom both. They showed you the staring eyes of the audience, as well as the consequence for fucking up your lines. If you're not a convincing actor, then you know what'll happen to your siblings or to you. Except, now your family and friends have burnt down the theater and you're left standing outside with no script and the costume is wrong. How do you talk to Hal without your lines? How are you supposed to be the person he knows you as when he's seen you in plays he was never meant to witness? Solix said he could see through your shit. Maybe you should ask him who he sees, because you're not sure you know who you are now. You're startled out of your doomed spiral of thoughts by Beck's nose pressing into the back of your neck. Ugh! You yelp, and Beck licks a stripe up the back of your neck and through your hair up the back of your neck. That's a look, at least. Not sure it's one I'd go for, Hal observes calmly.
You know what Beck just did. He broke you out of something that was making you distressed, and you know that Hal is going with it to try to help. Who knows how long you've been sitting here silently spiraling. Hal is going through his drawers in his desk. You can't really help, so you sit there instead.
Hey, if you need any help with any of the others, just let me know. Passing messages for you, or I don't know, whatever you need.
Hal offers.
Thanks. Sorry about Bro being around.
You say quietly.
I'm sorry he's around you at all,
he says back with feeling. You shrug at that.
Are you gonna find someone else to move in, or do you think you're gonna leave it empty since you can now?
Hal asks, taking the subject change opportunity right when you wanted him to.
From how I heard it, Aradia's made our position pretty clear on not making our lives more difficult. I think that covers this. It should be fine if it's just me and Solix here.
You answer him. You're sure as shit not moving, and they'd better not try to make you.
You are okay still living with him, right?
He asks, and clicks a box shut in front of you and nudges it into your knee.
Why wouldn't I be?
You ask in confusion, and pick up the box to put it outside of the room for Hal.
He said... Okay, I told him how Bro works, using your secrets against you, and he said he'd already told you about...
Hal leaves the sentence hanging, but you've no idea where he's going with it.
About?
You prompt him.
About him? He said he'd told you already about how he... Bro would be really pissed if he knew when you didn't, and use that to blackmail Solix or hurt him.
Hal says, leadingly.
Bro isn't here, if you're worried about that. I have no idea what you're talking about, if you're being that vague.
You sigh.
Maybe he didn't tell you then, and just told me that he had? I'm not sure I should say if he hasn't.
Hal mutters.
I'm gonna scream if you don't spit whatever it is out. It's not like there's a lot of secrets going around with me and him. He's a pretty honest person, and I've had to tell him more than I tell most people, so it's all transparent.
You tell him. Hal makes an uncertain noise, and you groan.
Beck, pillow, you order.
There's a scamper of feet on the floor, and within seconds you have a pillow in your hand. You haul it back and then launch it at Hal. He dodges it, which is impressive in the small room, but you think it was a close thing.
All right, but if he hadn't told you, can you at least pretend to be surprised when he does? If he does?
Hal says hastily.
Beck, pillow,
you say again, and arm yourself again in case Hal doesn't get to the goddamn point.
All right, Solix has feelings for you. That's the thing he said he told you.
Hal blurts out. You lower the pillow.
Oh, I already knew that. That's not been a secret for ages.
You tell him.
Man, fuck you. You had me thinking I was giving Solix's whole situation away.
Hal snaps at you.
It's not my fault you're being needlessly obscure about shit. Wait, is that what you meant? Like, am I okay living with Solix because of that? What do you think I am, the universe's least effective homophobe? I moved one lesbian out of that room to move a pansexual in instead. I can't be seen living with people who aren't straight. Literally, I apparently can't, because I never have. You retort. As amusing as the tangent is, I meant more that Bro is still around, and he sure as shit is a bigot. Also, your family being every variety of non-heteronormative going is different from living with a guy who's into you. I'd feel weird about living with a guy who was interested in me when I didn't feel the same.
Hal says, in a tone that sounds patient, but like that patience is wearing thin.
I can see how that would be different, if it was like that. That's a good point. You say, in a very normal voice.
There's a pause.
But, I mean, you go on, because you have to fill that silence. It's not... trolls are different, and there's value in spiting Bro. Also, Bro knew before me, but the funny story, he accuses any guy outside of our family who's even halfway nice to me of wanting my dick, so when he told me about Solix, it was like the boy who cried, There's a metaphor here, if you can focus on it. Hal is still quiet. Abandon the metaphor! What I mean is, we're cool. Everything's cool. Living with him is... Don't think about the way he picked you up. So cool. Yeah. Uh-huh, Hal says slowly. I'm gonna go put these boxes by the front you cut off and manage to both avoid yelling in alarm or tripping over the box that Hal must have moved when you were spaced out. Your hand slams into the doorframe at the same time that Hal's hand skims the sleeve of your shirt in a failed attempt to catch you. On your other side from the main room, Beck pushes you back to save you from falling, and or to cushion you if you do. You okay? Hal asks immediately. I'm fine. Nothing hurt. Just my pride, and also my toe. Ow. You wince and pick your foot up to rub it. There's a silence after that. You can feel Hal looking at you. You know Beck is, because he's pushed his head into your hand to both steady you and, well, if you happen to be there available to give pets, then who's to say that you won't? Just putting this out there without implying anything, and I'm definitely going to leave it there afterwards and go put my stuff out for the robot. But if you happen to want to talk about anything personal, then I'm always here to listen and help. I know we give each other shit because brothers, but if, for example, I was working something out about myself, I know I could come to you about it. Hal says, very carefully indeed. I get what you're saying, you say defensively. I wasn't saying anything. Nope. Going to pick up boxes now, Hal says, and you hear him shift and pick something up off of the floor. You get out of the room with Beck leading your way and lean against the wall as Hal goes past you to the front door. Your too-seen senses are tingling, but you try to push the reaction aside and focus on what's really happening. The question of your sexuality is hanging there in the air, just as much as it's been hanging over your head since you first kissed Solix. You'd planned to come back to the ship, get everyone safe, and then talk to Rose about it. But after Rose's stunt at the bar, you can't face talking to her right now, or anytime soon. Hal isn't as astute at knowing your every thought as Rose is, but he's still pretty goddamn good. Theoretically, you say, as Hal comes back and he stops dead in his tracks. Theoretically? He repeats questioningly. If I described something, could you define it for me? You say slowly. I'll do my best, Hal says. You hesitate, nerves in your stomach, but you push through it. If you have a guy who's with a woman and is romantically into her, like fully in love, you start, even though you know you've left the rest of that if statement dangling. Hal makes an encouraging, I'm listening sound, the kind your family habitually do from the days where you couldn't pick out them nodding from all that far away. But he doesn't want to do anything sexual with her. Like, not wanting to, but definitely not interested either. I mean, I could shave all of my hair off if I wanted to, but I don't want to. Some people do that all the time, and that's cool, and other people would feel like you might as well skin them for how bad it'd be. You try to explain. You're not interested in shaving your head, but you could if you had to, and it wouldn't be the worst, but you wouldn't enjoy it. Hal fills in for you. I don't know, maybe there'd be stuff about it that'd be cool. If I did that because someone else wanted me to, there'd be that, and it'd save time washing my hair, or whatever. You point out. Hal makes an uneasy noise and waits for you to keep talking. Anyway, this guy that we're talking about, he's with this girl. It's great. He loves her. He's attracted to her, but no sex, and it's still fine. But then it's not. So this guy has a friend, and he's a cool guy. They're really good friends, and you can look at people you're not attracted to, but know that they are attractive, you know? So that's not weird. But let's say, theoretically, they kiss. You say, your voice going quiet over that last part. And how was that for this theoretical guy? Hal asks, slowly and carefully. Theoretically, it's like a completely different thing for the guy. Like before, kissing the girl was nice. It was good. Like,
really good pizza, or when you want coffee really bad and you stop at a nice place and get one and have that first sip of it. But with this guy's friend, it's like you've been holding your breath for a really long time and finally you crack and breathe in and it's like air and you can't stop gasping for breath. It's not like needing air and wanting coffee are the same thing at all. And the guy has feelings. He loved the girl, but his friend is exactly the same. In a different quadrant, but that's the same. What does that make him, if you had to put him in a box? You ask, your throat tight and your hands shaking. Hal's voice is soft, and Beck whines and pushes his head into your palm. I'd say that it's not so much a box as it is more like a 3D map, and that the guy may have been in different places over his life, which doesn't make any of those places he was before a lie. Okay, but what about now? If you had to put a label on it, or a coordinate on that map, then what is it? Because not knowing is... You ask, your voice choked. Hal sighs quietly. Not like he's annoyed, but more like a it's time to focus kind of sigh. Has this guy ever felt any of that for other guys before this? Hal questions. Once before, but he couldn't... The guy, I mean... You whisper. What about other girls besides the girl you already mentioned? Hal asks. He didn't ever date anyone else, and he wasn't gonna cheat, so... People are pretty sometimes, but everyone thinks that. You shrug helplessly. Okay, but did the guy ever get accused of having feelings for or being into girls besides that one? Friends, maybe? He presses, and you can feel it's a leading question, like... Oh, Terezi. Yeah, so he got accused of that, but it wasn't really true. He had friends who were girls, who were also pretty, but that would be more like if you had to kiss someone for a dumb party game. It wouldn't be the worst fate in the world, but you don't want to. Like, I know Kanaya's gorgeous. I like her a lot. If I had to kiss her for a dumb game, I'd definitely prefer her over some creepy weirdo, but I'm not out here trying to steal Kanaya for myself. Not interested. It's like that. For the guy, I mean. Well, also for me, because I am also not trying to... You try. No, I get your point, Hal says, cutting you off. So, has this guy ever looked at anyone he didn't know, like a movie star or whatever, and been sexually attracted to him? Not just thinking they looked nice or the persona they had was intriguing, but looking at that person and feeling closer to the needing it like air thing. You try to think about it. Sometimes you're attracted to people in movies, but it's the characters. It's who they're pretending to be. Or it's envy that you don't look like that or have that outfit or whatever. Emotionally for the characters, maybe, but not... You say slowly. Alright, so if the box and the label means that much to the guy, I'd say this. First, that these things can change and are a lot more fluid and undefined than we like to think, and the labels we put on things are artificial because people aren't so well defined. That said, they are helpful to understand and communicate. Hal prefaces very formally. You nod and wait. It would seem like, romantically, gender doesn't matter. You'd need more data before you could say if the girl or the friend was an exception to the norm, but without that, maybe panromantic works. As for sexuality, you're probably looking somewhere on the asexuality side, since so far that seems to only appear hand in hand with romantic attraction, and even then only sometimes. But I'd be more inclined to say that it's relevant that it only happened with the friend and seemed to change even the intensity of the less explicitly sexual things like kissing someone is relevant. Since you said it was different between the girl and the friend. So, if you're looking at intimate but not solely sexual things... Wait, I know you got lost in metaphor with the head shaving, but... Hal says. With the girl, no interest, but would have if she really wanted to, but she never wanted to push that. With the friend, holy shit, yes. Stupid amount of brain space getting derailed thinking about it. You interrupt. Right.
Obviously, this is complex. Labels don't define you, they changed over time, definitions of them vary, etc. But if you want to know the box, I'd say homosexual, panromantic, but on the asexual spectrum in that 3D chess kind of way. Does that help?
Hal says finally. So you did love Jade, just like you love Solix. You weren't lying or wasting her time. There's a word for that.
This almost sounds like a character build for an RPG video game.
You laugh weakly.
Oh, yeah, just main your homosexual character build, but you've got that panromantic class and then put a few points into the asexuality talent tree?
Hal says with flat sarcasm that makes you crack up and giggles.
Wait, ignoring the fact that I don't have my eyes right now, is it those talent points that gives me dark vision?
You ask, grinning, and Hal's surprised laugh seems to startle him and you both.
Shit, probably. I mean, I personally find the transgender ability to re-roll a certain number of rolls a day to be really helpful, but who knows?
Hal snickers. The two of you are giggling like idiots until a thought steals over you. You said about your eyes, and I'm the guy, you admit.
Yeah, man, I know,
Hal tells you gently. You hear him move and come a little closer.
I'm gonna hug you now,
he says plainly.
Aw, what? You protest weakly. Nope, we're having a moment. Hugs are part of the standard package. Gotta.
Hal says flatly, even though he definitely gives you time to back out if you wanted. You don't actually want to back up and dodge the hug. You just had to say that because there's rules to these things, even if the rule is mostly to keep the stupid gag going for as long as possible. The point is, when Hal carefully pulls you into a hug, it's absolutely wanted. His warm arms wrap around you, and despite being back on the ship for a good while now, you finally feel home. This is the thing. Your parents never molded you into a family together. If anything, they did what they could to pit you against each other. They played mind games. If something happened in the house and they wanted to know, they'd split you up. If it was you and Hal, they'd tell you that if you and Hal both told them what happened, you'd be punished really bad. But if you told and he didn't, you'd go free and he'd deal with so much worse. If he told and you didn't, the situation would be reversed. And if you both stayed quiet, you could skate by with just a little punishment. What do you do? But it didn't really work. Aside from the discord caused by you being taken to the lab with them, the five of you stuck together. They were your family, and your parents were the outside hostile force. That's why refusing to talk to your siblings hurts so much, and why having Hal back is so important that you're choking up on emotion. Hal pulls back and presses his forehead to yours, his hands on either side of your head ever so gently.
I won't breathe a word about it to anyone. I love you,
Hal promises in a whisper, and you believe him completely. You believe him because you've seen what he's gone through to protect your secrets before.
Thanks for helping, you tell him. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm there. Are you sure you're okay with me going?
He asks you. You sniff and nod, pulling back from him properly.
You deserve a place where bro's not breathing down your neck, you tell him.
You know Hal wants to say the same about you, but it's not an option. It just isn't. Hal doesn't push you more on the topic. Instead, he gets his boxes together and calls for them to be shipped to Dad's place. He was helpful, and having a name for this helps, but there's only so much you can talk about this right now with someone else before you fall apart. You guess you just came out to him. Even if he helped give you directions as to what you're even coming out as. Then again, it's not like anyone else is going to care. Troll society doesn't bat an eyelid at orientation at all. Not to say they're all the same, but it's more of a that's between you and your quadrants type of deal. Your family isn't going to care either. Well, not the living parts anyway. Not that you're talking to them right now, so that's not something you have to think about. Hal pauses by you, with his last box in hand.
So, if you want to hang out or watch a movie, I'd be cool with that, I guess either one you've seen before, or we could watch a new one and I could tell you what's going on if you've not got your eyes yet. Or dinner might be easier, or coffee, or lunch, or Hal starts. I get the point. You interrupt. Cool, so I'll go then. This feels weird, Hal says, and you hear him shift the box and lean in for a one-armed hug that you return. Hey, hold this for a second, he says, and passes you the box when the hug is over. Obligingly, you take it from him, and you hear Hal kneel down. Okay, see you next time, Beck. Shake? Hal asks. You hear Beck move, and you're pretty sure that he's shaking hands, pause, with Hal. Only suddenly there's a flurry of movement and a thump. Ha ha! You fell into my trap, hell beast! Hal says dramatically, to the background track of what you know is a lot of tummy rubs. Naturally, Beck plays along, howling like he's been wounded, betrayed, left for dead! He's only slightly betrayed by the overjoyed wagging tail that keeps smacking into the lounge-playing leg by your foot. Soon enough, Hal lets up on his merciless attack on the hell beast and stands up to take his box back. You'd tease him, saying that you don't get a goodbye that affectionate, except you know better. No, you remember being 14 and complaining that Beck got a more affectionate goodbye one time when Roxy was leaving, only to get yourself smothered in kisses by all of your sisters at once, and it was mortifying. Hal and Dirk happened to not be there at the time, but you know if you were dumb enough to say the same thing around them, they'd absolutely do the same, just to keep that particular joke going. See you later, Hal says softly, his tone filled with affection. Yeah, for sure. You agree, and walk him to the door. When the door shuts, you stand there for a few minutes as all of that settles in. You need to do something about this, but you can't do it now. It's like the idea is too hot out of the oven and needs to cool for a minute. You're not distracting yourself or avoiding the topic, but you gotta back away from it for a bit to process it. Right. So you may as well do something productive. Turntech Godhead opened memo, Balancing School for Nerds, with twin Armageddons and carcinogeneticist. Hey, so are we all good for this today? Like, where are you both now and what are you doing so we can do this thing?
I'm actually at work.
I thought you weren't working.
Yeah, me too. I'm technically not, I think. It's more that a few people who I was helping before really needed me to do a few things for them, and it sort of spiraled. Honestly, I'd be glad to get out of here. I'm not exactly popular with management suddenly.
Yeah, I heard how that meeting went. The Vantis name is like mud in HR right now, I'm guessing.
You guess right. You can meet me here if you like, or I can go to wherever you want. Or Solix could actually reply to any of this.
Yeah, no, hard pass. I'm not going anywhere near your building and risking running into Rose.
Right, sorry.
Solix, answer us!
Look, I'll start wrapping things up here. I could meet you at your station if you like, and we could go from there.
Yeah, makes sense. I need to get ready first, so I'll let you know when I'm leaving and we can see what Solix says.
Alright then, talk to you in a bit. You get ready for the day, since Hal hadn't given you a lot of chances to do that, but by the time you're about to leave, there's still no answer from Solix. You let Carcat know to meet you at the station and head on out with Beck, who had sensibly taken the chance to eat, drink, and go to the bathroom himself, too. You're both the most prepared there is. For the sake of minimizing the risk of eye-based wardrobe malfunctions, you bandage up your eyes and wear glasses. You're pretty aware that people are going to notice you when you're out there, and even though you're not so stupid as to look yourself up online, you'd prefer it if people didn't take pictures of your face when you don't have your eyes. You're just working to eliminate the chances of making your life worse than it is, thanks. Even so, when you're waiting at the station, you can feel people looking at you. You can hear them whispering, too, since whatever medical magic Equius worked has fully fixed your hearing. You partly wish it hadn't, so you didn't have to hear that. It is him. Should we... He threatened to space the captain. I'm not going near him. We're not anywhere near the hull. You walk your fingers through Beck's coat by his harness and try to focus on the feel of his fur.
Yeah, and he saved our lives, man.
Look, I think the picture came out okay. Beck nudges you and you hear heavy footsteps approaching. Dave, hi. Solix hasn't replied yet, Karkat says as he walks up to you.
Yeah, I saw.
You nod. Should we... Karkat trails off, and you'd think he was uncertain if you couldn't hear that... Oh shit, he's looking right at us! Don't stare back, he's gonna know.
You're gonna miss your train,
Karkat says flatly, with words that are polite, but a tone that says, get on the train, or I'm pushing you under it. You hear the telltale sound of people definitely not making themselves scarce because they absolutely weren't doing anything wrong in the first place, honest. It's just a coincidence. Some people, I fucking swear, it's like they don't have the common decency their Lucy were supposed to give them. Forget being brought up badly, they were clearly dragged up, or maybe they were brought up but like a bile-covered hairball instead of people. Karkat seethes. You pull your palm husk out and run your thumb over the screen, but Trollian hasn't changed.
Kind of weird he hasn't replied yet,
you say, ignoring Karkat's rant and the people he was ranting about, since you'd prefer to not acknowledge them at all. Well, if he wasn't home with you, then... he's working, isn't he? Karkat sighs.
That'd be my guess. Let's go there. I don't get why he's not answering, though,
you say. Probably because he's neck-deep in some coding binge, fixing the problem that I caused. I could message him directly, that always pings him, but even then, if he's that focused, he might not notice. You're right, let's just go. Karkat agrees.
Cool,
you say, your voice neutral, and start walking to the edge of the platform. Cool, Karkat says awkwardly, and goes with you. You know how far the platform edge is from the far wall, and even if you didn't, the texture of the floor changes there, and you have Beck with you. You stand there waiting for the next train, Karkat on one side of you and Beck on the other. Karkat's awkwardness is just radiating off of him, but you're not sure why.
You good?
You ask. That's a big question. Morally, ethically, socially, emotionally, mentally? Probably not, but it's not your problem since you've already got enough to deal with. Wait, that sounded like I meant that you're not helpful or whatever, as if I'm saying that you think it's not your problem, but that's not what I meant. I meant that it shouldn't be your problem because you've already got enough of your own, many of which I caused, so I'm fine. Karkat rambles nervously.
That didn't sound fine,
you point out blankly. Yeah, well, he mumbles.
I thought we already went over all of this,
you say, and feel the air shift as the train approaches. Karkat doesn't say anything as the train pulls in and you both get on. You lean against the doorframe of the train, one hand on the handle and the other on Beck.
You were fine around me the other day. Is this going to be a problem?
You ask him. Nothing's the problem. I'm grateful that you're teaching me at all, Karkat says quickly, his voice nervous. You fall silent, your hand on Beck's harness tightening a little. You don't know if people on the train are watching you, but it feels like they are. You know Karkat is, for sure. I didn't mean to upset you, Karkat says quietly, and you grit your teeth.
So that's what it is,
you hiss. What? Karkat asks, his voice small and confused.
You can handle me teaching you, but you don't know how to be around me anymore, huh?
You say quietly, your grip in Beck's harness tightening. That's one way of putting it, I guess, he admits. Rage and pain bubble in you, and Beck pulls his harness free of your hand to get your fingers in the fur of his neck as he reps his face against you.
So, what?
You start quietly and slide your fingers through Beck's fur.
You see all that about me in those files that fucking nobody asked you to look at? Now you can't look at me the same?
What? No, that's not it, Karkat insists urgently, his voice low. You lean into his space, both so you can keep your voice down, but also in case you feel like giving in to the urge to headbutt him in the face and break his goddamn nose.
No? You already apologized for why you did what you did. We already talked that out. And you can be fine when Solix is there, or close to fine at least. But when it's just you and me, nah. So what is it? I didn't look through everything you showed everyone about me, so I have to guess. What did you see that means that you can't treat me how you used to? You demand sharply.
No, it's not. That's not it.
Karkat squeaks. I'm not stupid. You ought to know that after how many intelligence tests they ran on me. What is it that plays behind your eyes when you see me, huh? The times they electrocuted me? Maybe footage of me crying as a scared little blind kid in their tests? Oh, or maybe how I screamed and begged when they went to put me into sensory deprivation again. What was it? You snarl.
No, it's nothing like that.
Karkat insists. The hell it isn't. You could fuck him up 1,000 different ways before he could even try to stop you. You could. Angry as you are, the urge to not be like your parents is holding you back. But just barely.
It's not like that at all. I don't think less of you for any of that. Why the fuck would I? You were a kid. None of that says anything about you or... This isn't some kind of condescending pity. I'm not scared of breaking you like you're some fragile thing.
Karkat hisses back at you. Hoofbeast shit. You snarl as quietly as possible. You can feel other people watching you, and you press your back to the wall behind you and look away from Karkat. Not that it changes what you see, but at least he can see that.
Dave, no, that's not it.
Karkat pleads, but you're done with this. You're so done.
Dave,
he says, his voice soft. The train slows for the next stop, and Karkat has to step a little closer to you to let people on. People pass you both, and then Karkat catches hold of your arm. Come on, he says, and pulls you towards the doors. Beck leads you with him, 'cause it's that or fall over, and that's a bad time to do that. You'll get 2 Dave halves, one on the train and one on the platform. It's like the shittiest magician's trick. This isn't our stop, you say, about 90% sure of that. Sure, you were focused on your conversation with Karkat, but you're pretty sure you know how far along the line your train went.
I know that. Just come with me already. I'm not doing this with everyone on the train pretending that they're not trying to listen.
Karkat snaps, still pulling at you. Don't fucking pull on me. I'm missing my eyes, not my goddamn legs. You snarl at him and yank your arm back.
Shit, sorry. Can we just go this way, please?
Karkat asks, his voice apologetic, even if it does nothing to reduce your rage. You shake your freed arm out and stand there scowling at him, although the bandages probably messed that up for you. Karkat hesitantly starts walking. You could let him go and go back to the platform and catch the next train to Solix's part of the ship, leave Karkat here and make him Aradia's problem. If you had any sense, that's what you'd do. You'd see that this isn't going to work, and yet again, people have proven unworthy of your trust. You should walk away from this whole thing. But part of you wants that to not be true. He felt honest when he told you why he did all of this. You thought you had a good grip on who he was. You became friends so quickly when you got here. Even if you weren't always nice to each other, he was always good to you. That's why you believed him when he told you he didn't mean to hurt you, but he couldn't allow something that did so much harm to continue. Because Karkat is good. That's all the more reason to walk away, though, isn't it? You having that much faith in him means it hurts that much more that he apparently thinks differently of you now. That he saw you as a weak and broken kid and can't unsee it. You should leave and not give him the time to push that knife in deeper, to put more salt in the wound. But another part of you wants to hear him say something that'll explain this. Some way to explain why he can't treat you the same when he's got no one else to hide behind. Some answer that isn't what he saw in your file. You should know better, but you follow him anyway. Karkat leads you to an elevator and closes the doors before anyone else can get in, and takes you up to one of the higher residential floors. You follow him until he leads you down a little corridor and out onto what feels like a balcony over what's probably a courtyard in a little residential space. There's the sound of people a good distance down below, but no one nearby. There's a bench just over to your left. Wait, no, that's my left, so it's your right. If you wanted to sit down or something, because apparently I'm explaining benches to you now. I need to stop talking.
Karkat babbles. You don't sit. Instead, you stand there with your arms folded and Beck sat against your side, alert and waiting. Right, Karkat sighs, and you keep not saying anything. I really don't feel any differently about you because of what I saw, he insists.
I really don't believe you,
you tell him. Fine, let me clarify, I guess. I feel awful for you. I feel angry that anyone could do that to you. I feel outraged that you couldn't talk about it to anyone and that your chances to heal from that were shot to shit. I guess I'm impressed that you're as mentally stable as you are. I don't think there's any way I could have withstood half of the stuff that I even know about, and I'm sure there was more. So, you're right. It's inaccurate to say that I don't feel differently about you, because that's all new, but it's not... What do you think I feel about you? He asks you, his tone clearly shooting for soothing.
You said it. Fragile and broken.
You repeat. Yeah, I said that, prefaced with, I do not think you are. Karkat retorts.
But you can't even talk to me properly on our own. Outside of being around someone else or apologizing for shit, you can't talk to me. You accuse him.
Yeah, you're right, but that's not because I think you're fragile and broken. Karkat snaps, and you hear fabric shifting in a way that tells you he's waving his arms around as he talks, like he always does when he has feelings about whatever he's saying.
I don't believe you. If you're so... You know what? Why don't you tell me what you do think about me now, huh? It's obviously not the same as what it was, so tell me. Because that nothing is different shit isn't convincing, and I'm not stupid. So go on.
You challenge him. You hear Karkat falter, and then sigh. Not a lot is different. I don't care how much you don't like that answer. It's true. I don't think you're weak. I didn't think that before or now. What other people did to you doesn't make you weak. Other people hurting you or taking advantage of you says nothing about you and everything about them. I don't think you're stronger for it or any other shit like that either. People used to say that shit about Gamzee and it pissed me off so bad. No one should have to go through something like he did, or you, and surviving something doesn't make you stronger, and even if it did, that's not something to praise someone for. If that's what strength means, then no one should have to be strong. I do think you're a better liar than I thought you were before, or at least you are on these subjects. Anyone who knows you more than a little knows that your poker face has cracks that you can fly a shuttle through.
Karkat snorts that last part. Sailors don't like playing against me in poker, actually. I'm good at it, actually.
You say flatly. Well, there you go. That's not a judgment on you as a person, just a new thing I know about you. I'm still pretty sure that you're not great at pretending some dumb thing you said was what you meant to say. I'm pretty sure that wasn't some elaborate double bluff. And like I said, I'm surprised you're as together as you are, but that's more of an observation than an emotion I feel about you or a value I hold. I don't think you're some weak and helpless person because I wanted to break this system that fucks you all over. We covered that it's way harder to do that and see all that from the inside. I don't have any judgments on you when it comes to that. Really. What I saw changed my opinions on the captain, on our society, and lowered my already low opinion of your biological parents. But nothing changed with how I see you. He insists.
If that is true, you start.
It is, Karkat interrupts.
If that is true, then why are you acting like you're too scared to say anything to me? If you're not afraid of turning me into a sobbing wreck, then what? You demand.
There's a pause for a moment, and you wish you could see his face. Because I don't know how to act around you now, Karkat says quietly.
Yeah, that's my point.
You snap. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. I'm sorry that I hurt you, but I'm not sorry for destroying this secrecy. I made my choice about what ethical hill I was going to die on. I don't get how you can still want to speak to me after that, and the fact that you have to, because we're both balancers, is one thing, but you're not acting like our friendship is over, and this is a strictly professional relationship. I don't understand how to behave around you, because I don't understand how you don't want me dead for what I did! Karkat shouts. Not at you like he's angry, but in that Karkat more emotion equals more volume way.
We covered this, though.
You point out. Yeah, we covered why I did what I did. That doesn't answer my question at all. Karkat snaps. You open your mouth to speak, but Karkat is off again, and you can hear him talking and pacing as he does, so you simply let him go. It's one thing understanding why I had to destroy the secrecy and start a goddamn revolution, because I have my own ethical principles, and apparently systemic problems in society can meet me out back for a fight as a genetic trait in my line. That's one thing, but I showed the whole ship your file. People know about that now, and I saw people watching you earlier and talking. That's my fault! Sure, other people were part of that, but we're talking about me, not them, and it's not as if shared responsibility mitigates individual responsibility. On top of that, I know you're not talking to your family now, so my actions and getting them involved cut you off from your support system, which is great of me. Oh, and I knew Jade was going to break up with you before you left for the mission and didn't tell you. And my whole shit with Gamzee is making arranging any of this balancer training thing a nightmare for you. You understanding why I did one thing doesn't negate all of that shit, so how the hell am I meant to know how to behave when you have every right to want to snap my neck and use my corpse as a skateboard down the nearest stairwell? Karkat rants.
Can you just shut up for a second? You interrupt.
Sorry. Karkat apologizes.
That's still talking, you exclaim in despair.
Karkat wisely shuts that reflexive apology down. You breathe in deeply, hold it, and then find that bench Karkat mentioned so you can sit down and breathe out in one go. Your shoulders slump, and you try to order that all in your head. Sit, you say. There's a moment of silence and stillness around you. Sorry, was that directed at me or Beck? He seems as confused as I am. Karkat hesitantly says, and Beck quietly goes, woof, in agreement.
Karkat, sit your dumbass on this bench. Beck can do what he wants.
You say despairingly, and Karkat moves to sit down next to you on this bench, although he has to move over after a second as Beck decides that he will also sit on the bench with you.
I understand that the file on me getting out was an accident. I think it's a fucking stupid one, and I don't entirely get how it happened, but I'm sure Hal and Solix can tell me all about it if I really want to hear a bunch about code that I don't understand.
You start. You're talking to Hal now? Karkat asks, hopefully.
Yeah, we're better now. He apologized properly, and we're working it out. But if I catch you telling anyone else in my family that, then I might take you up on using your body as a surfboard down the stairs. You warn him.
Got it, Karkat says quickly.
Also, you got my family involved, yeah, but from what I understand, Rose and Hal were in it from the start, and you can't control what they do. Believe me, I know. But any of them could have seen any of the stuff in my file and decided, no, I'm not doing this without talking to Dave, and they didn't do that. They made their choices, and that's not on you. You tell them.
I'm feeling like that's distinctly on me, since I got them into this. He points out.
Your guilt's not my problem. You shrug.
No shit, of course it's not. I'm not trying to make it your problem to deal with. Karkat groans.
What were the other things? Jade? You ask.
I overheard her talking to Aradia at the party. I could have done something and didn't. Karkat admits miserably.
Done what? Convinced her to stay with me when she didn't want to? Yeah, that would have been great for me. Or would you have preferred to gossip really painful news to me instead of letting the woman I loved have an actual conversation with me about it? Why the hell did you need to be involved in my relationship? If you're not in it, then it's not your business. Speaking of which, yours and Gamzee's is none of mine. I'm sympathetic about it. If either of you wanted to talk about it, then sure, I can listen. I can be the person you practice balancing with instead of him, if that's easier, but it's nothing to do with me. You don't owe me because you two broke up. It's kind of going around at the moment, if you hadn't noticed. You say sharply. I guess, but it seems a lot like the problems that you're having to deal with trace right back to me, as if I hadn't made things difficult enough for you. Karkat mumbles. No, shut up. Forget everyone else. What other people do isn't your problem. The only thing that other people are doing that I am pissed at you for is how every asshole in the street is staring at me. Other than that, it's not on you. You snap.
even without everyone else, that's more than enough, isn't it? I'm not overreacting. How can you be around me and be fine? It's one thing if Solix is there because you can be normal with him and I can too, so we're okay by proxy or whatever, but here and now there's no one that you have to pretend for, so I don't get how you can act like things are normal. I don't know how to act. If someone did to me what I did to you, I wouldn't want them anywhere near me. I wouldn't care what ethical reason they had for screwing me over like that. I'd want to strangle them. Sure, if I had to be around them for balance reasons, then I could do cold but courteous, even if I had to grit my teeth through it. So, I don't know how I'm supposed to act around you after this. I'm not being weird around you because I think less of you. I just don't know what to do or how you can be around me. Karkat explains quietly.
I said I understood, you point out.
That's a far cry from acting like all is forgiven and Karkat starts.
Oh, hell no, I've not forgiven you, you say loudly.
You haven't? Karkat says in shock.
Fuck no, you screwed up my whole goddamn life. I understand why you did it, and I get that you were trying to protect us and everyone who's coming after us. You said you were sorry that I got hurt in the process. You apologized for blasting my shit to everyone, and I believe you and understand. That doesn't mean I forgive you. I'm never forgiving any of you for this. You insist.
Oh, Karkat says softly, and then you hear him sigh and fall back on the bench. You hear his hands hit the wood, and from the throaty tone to his groan of relief, you think he's tipped his head all the way back too. Thank fuck for that. I thought, I don't know, you were acting like this was all normal, and that's not right after what I did. But if you've not forgiven me, that's way easier. If the situation is that you understand my motivations, you accept that I'm sorry for the things I'm sorry for, but you're not saying it's fine, then that's way more understandable. He sighs in relief.
I believed you when you said you were sorry. I know you. You don't go out of your way to hurt people. Honestly, I appreciate that you saw something fucked up and refused to let it go. If people had done that for me when I was a kid, I wouldn't be as screwed up as I am now. I can live with that. It matches up with everything I know about you. I'm not totally cool with you yet, but I want to be. This situation sucks enough without losing all my friends and family. I want things to be like they were, is all. You acting like that made me think. You start.
I'm sorry. I really don't think any differently of you. You're not weak or anything like that. It gave me context for some things, sure, and if you need help with anything that you couldn't ask for before because I didn't know about all this, then go for it. I still want to be your friend, if for some reason you want to be as well.
Karkat insists, cutting you off without meaning to, like he always used to. Yeah, man, this shit's lonely, and I don't want to have problems with you. We've got to balance together. We've been friends for forever, and you're Solix's best friend. I'm not going to toss everything out just because of what you did. I cannot forgive you for exposing me like that, and also move, I don't know, not past it exactly, but around it, and still be friends. Or at least work on getting there again. Just as long as you don't act like I'm going to break if you look at me funny. You tell him.
I'd really like that, he says softly. You lean gently against Beck's side, and he shifts and puts one of his front legs around your shoulders, his paw hanging down in front of your chest so you can reach up and hold it. At least you feel a little less shitty now. You're thankful that going along with Karkat led to this getting cleared up and not vindication to the fear that everyone you care about will at some point betray you.
I'm sorry, you mumble.
Huh? What for? Karkat asks, and you hear him shift on the bench next to you. Maybe he sat up again.
For going from 0 to ripping you a new asshole in 30 seconds on a public train.
You mutter as you poke Beck's toe beans one by one. A thing that I'm never guilty of? That's what everyone says about me. So calm and reasonable all the time. That's why I expect the same of everyone else, regardless of stressful life circumstances. Karkat says, with a layer of sarcasm so thick it'd register on a geologic record.
Okay, but I could have gone from Karkat's being weird with me to is something up with Karkat instead of it's all about you start.
In fact, Karkat says over you and in a higher volume. I am always calm and rational. I never leap to conclusions, and my words are always well thought out. That's not what I said, you yell as well. I am so considerate and smart always, Karkat shouts, and Beck starts howling, because if there's noise and you're not upset, he's gonna think it's open season for anyone to participate. Unfortunately, when a good howl gets started, it's a little tricky to stop, so you sigh and wait it out. When Beck, who is now delighted, has stopped, Karkat speaks again. You don't need to apologize to me. I don't think less of you, and I'd really like to go back to being your friend, if you're going to be generous enough to let me, he says gently, and even though part of you prickles in reflexive aversion to imagined condescending pity, you remind yourself that his tone is earnest. Yeah, let's just go get Solix and get going, you say, and get up. You're not exactly sure where you are. Even though you probably could retrace your steps without too much effort, it's not familiar territory at all. Karkat gets up as well, and you hear him heave an irritated sigh as his claws click on the screen of his palm husk. He's still not replied. Let's go down there and throw things at him. This way, Karkat says, and leads the way. The pair of you return to the station and get on the train, traveling the correct number of stops until you get to the stop closest to Solix's work. When you get there, Karkat goes in first. You know the main area is separated back from the actual office where Hal and Solix usually hide out. Karkat goes over to the desk to try to convince the person covering the desk to let you both back there. Facing the back wall, you see something and take the chance to smack Karkat on the arm. Here. Teaching moment. What do you see? You ask him, and point. Wall? What are you getting at? Karkat says, in total confusion. You sigh and grab the back of his shirt and pull him closer, swinging your arm around his shoulder and pointing in the right direction. That way. Close your eyes and tell me what you see there. Or feel, whatever. Tell me what you feel. You urge him. I feel stupid. I'm not getting anything. I'm sorry. What am I supposed to be getting? Karkat asks. You shake your head and pull away from him and head to the doorway, ignoring the guy on the desk trying to tell you that you can't go back there. Inside the office itself, you can hear people talking and hear someone typing away at insane speed. Unsurprisingly, that's from exactly the direction that Psionic is. Karkat joins you, and you hear him quietly go, "Oh," when he realizes it. Why do they have a fish tank? Karkat mutters. Describe what's going on, please, you say, nudging him. They have a bunch of husk tops, tablets, and palm husks on the desk, and Sarava's got what looks like a fish tank or some kind of glass something in the air, and okay, they're putting it over all the stuff on the table now? Karkat narrates in blatant confusion. Okay, that should... Solix trails off. 4 repelled it. Wired connection to 6. Yeah, I think that someone else is cut off by a muffled explosion. That was 7, so it's the older versions that do it more. Someone else sighs. Solix is muttering, but he's so pissed and indecipherable that you can't make out exactly what he's saying. Karkat takes a step away from you and then returns. Here, consider this a peace offering, Karkat says, with innocence he doesn't have, and presses something into your hand. You let go of Beck to turn it over. It's a mouse mat. He still hasn't noticed us. He's back coding again, Karkat says casually. Oh, you see how it is. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Solix has psionic reflexes for days, so the question is, can you nail him in the back of the head from the other side of the room with this mouse mat when you can't see him, but he can't see you? Inquiring minds want to know. You want to know just how good he is, too. Yes, you heard how pitched that sounded in your head. Sit, stay, you say quietly to Beck, to ensure that he won't nab the mouse mat out of thin air when you throw it. You focus on where you know Solix is. Pull your arm back, and... Ah! What the fuck? Solix yelps from the other end of the room. I think you got him a little before it ended up somewhere in the ceiling. Or on the ceiling in a melted circle. Karkat observes for you. Psionic slides over to you with a cheerful little digital sound. What the hell? Solix demands. At your side, Karkat clears his throat and his claws click on a screen. Psionic shifts to Karkat and then crackles all over with spliced up laughter. Oh, Solix says from the other end of the room. Solix's coworkers are trying to talk to him about this, about code and what this means. Let's go, you call out to him. Yeah, just give me a second, Solix says as he clearly starts getting caught up again. If it wasn't for the fact that I caused this, I'd be over there dragging him off myself. I'm pretty sure if I go over there, then they're all gonna fight me, Karkat says under his breath. Good point. Beck, you say, and you know you have his attention. Fetch, you begin, and Beck's claws shift on the floor because Fetch is one of the best games as far as he's concerned. Solix. You hear Karkat's breathless little laugh and the click of glass again. Across the room, there's chaos of people yelling in alarm and Solix shouting as Beck growls and tries to fetch him for you, as you asked him to. Are you filming me? Solix demands, scandalized and a little closer now. I wouldn't want Dave to not see this. I'm making accommodations for his current vision. It's only fair, Karkat says innocently. Beck growls and Solix yelps in alarm. Don't put holes in these, he demands, but Beck cannot be reasoned with. Oh my god, he's like a bark beast with the dumbest novelty balloon, Karkat snickers. Beck barks quietly at your side, his mouth occupied with Solix's clothes. The hell is wrong with you? You can't just send your dog, or whatever Beck actually is, and have him drag me here, Solix seethes. I can, actually. Anyway, you weren't answering any of our messages, and you weren't meant to be working today. They can do this job without you, but they can't do ghost shit, so you can come with me to Tortuga on your own, or Beck can bring you, you say cheerfully. You're pretty sure that was an I hate you that he nearly dropped there, before thinking better of it, but you can hear him grinding his teeth from here. You flash him a bright smile, then one-handedly reach out and grab Karkat's sleeve. Get in, loser, we're going balancing, you tell Karkat, and drag him out of the room. Karkat and Solix both try to protest. Beck, heel, you call out, and Solix curses in surprise again. Wait, I can walk by myself, Solix protests, and you wave it back to get him to drop Solix and come to you properly and pet him when he gets there. See? Solix says, bumping into your shoulder. So proud, you tell him flatly. Oh, wait, shit, I forgot my palm husk, he hisses. I've heard that one before. Definitely won't get sucked into coding again, Karkat snorts, putting your thoughts into words before you can. No, let me just get it, Solix insists. To your confusion, Solix moves and stands close enough that he's almost touching you, and then he does, his left hand on your right shoulder as he faces you and back into the office behind you. He floats up a little, leans forward, and you flinch hard. Instincts formed from a childhood of thrown bottles, fists from nowhere, and every sense but sight, learning how to tell when something's coming at you with speed. But it's not like anything does hit you. Solix got his palm husk. He was trying to give you a heads up, but you didn't catch on in time. His fingers slide over your shoulder as he moves away again in something that could be reassuring, but could just easily just be passed off as an accident. See, I got it, and I didn't go back, Solix says, and you make use of that poker face people think you don't really have. You lead them both down to the engineering level of the ship and make your way to the bar. You would say that you could get here blindfolded, but given your bandages, that's technically exactly the thing you're doing right now. You notice, after a short distance, that Psionic hasn't followed you, but it's fine. Solix can bring him in later. I was gonna say that I'm nervous about coming here, since I pissed people off here before, but I can't really think of anywhere that's not also true, Karkat says unhappily as you get close to the outer bar that is the Wild Rover. Please don't go outside just so you could be somewhere without people who aren't annoyed at you, Solix reminds him.
I give being outside without a spacesuit 0 out of 10. You agree.
Dave, let me get the door for you, Jahat says as you get close, and you can hear her scrambling off of her chair to get it for you. Yeah, she's definitely trying to make up for letting Rose and Dirk through before. Not feeling especially inclined to let her off the hook, you just nod at her and walk through with Solix and Karkat behind you.
Oh, well, look who it is,
a voice calls out. Lonk's voice, in fact. Mister, I got 2 ghosts slumming it down here with us now, I see. Saved the ship one time and he's suddenly too good for us, right? Not a thing that anyone said, Cornel rumbles.
Maybe he's just moved on to more strategic targets, like the Council,
Astasha suggests. Well, exactly. Clearly he thinks he's better than us. Lonk huffs. Nah, I've just been busy. Me being better than you was a thing that was true before, Lonk, Solix says brightly, and your crew erupts in laughter. I don't have to sit around and take this, Lonk declares, and you hear him get to his feet. No, please don't, Marcy agrees flatly. Lonk sighs dramatically, and you hear the swish of a probably very fashionable jacket being donned as Lonk goes to leave. He pauses in front of you. You're in my way. Why don't you move over there with the rest of the unkept miscreants, Lonk tuts, and he sounds like he's facing away from you slightly as he talks, so he must be talking to Karkat. Karkat starts to argue, but gets cut off before he can really begin by Solix calling him over so he can introduce him to everyone, and so, with a grumble, Karkat leaves your side. I do hope you're okay. We have all been worried, you know, Lonk says softly as he puts his jacket on.
I know. Sorry I haven't been around. It's been a lot,
you tell him, just as quietly. Oh, I'm sure. Gamzee and Aradia have been around, and even they're showing signs of strain. I'm sure it's not helped by the fact that we know he's diamondless now. I have to say, I'm surprised he's not gone off the deep end already, but that bronze guy has been dragging him off, which is probably a relief to the bar after how hard the 2 of you went at it right after we got back, he says, and you can hear him straightening out whatever he's wearing. The whole conversation is so quiet, people could easily think Lonk was just standing here preening in silence.
Tavros, you say, after a moment.
I think so, Lonk agrees softly.
That's good. Better than the alternative, you sigh.
And the same goes for you. I'm sure there are better ways of relieving your stress, Lonk's tone dips into teasing and salacious, but you know damn well he's not hitting on you himself, but for someone. You try to come up with something to say to that implication, and find yourself very glad that you can hear Solix over there excitedly talking to the others and unaware of this conversation. Your floundering pause must be answer enough, because Lonk chuckles and puts a hand on your shoulder. I do hope you get your sight back soon, because you should see how he looks at you, and then you should do something about that, Lonk suggests.
Working on it,
you mutter, and Lonk laughs brightly. Let me know how that goes. Bye, Lonk says at a normal volume and swans off. Okay, you definitely need to do something about this Solix situation before word gets out about that conversation. But the time for that is not now. Instead, you go to the bar and get coffee for yourself and find an empty table reasonably close to the stage. People greet you as you pass by them, and you can hear a few people who you know play instruments. That's helpful, in case you need that later, but no one is playing right now. You set your coffee down and turn towards the table you can hear your crew is at, but pause when you can hear someone walking towards you. You think it's... Are we doing this now, or can I get coffee first? I didn't want it until I saw yours, and now I would sell you one of my least favorite organs for some, Solix says as he gets closer.
Thankfully, the bar doesn't charge in organs. In fact, they're not going to charge you at all. Go get something, and drag Karkat over too, you tell him.
You sit your ass back down and try to think about what you're going to do and where you're going to start with this. By the time you've had a few minutes to think and drink your coffee, Solix has come back with Karkat following him. You wait as they set their drinks down too, and then sit. So, what now? Karkat asks. I'm guessing that anything we need to know, Psionic, Matuna, and Signless need to know too, right? Solix guesses, and you make a noise of agreement around your coffee cup. Behind both of them, you see the sudden lights of Matuna and Signless appear, along with the formless dark of Psionic.
Don't worry, I'm not bringing Bro here until I absolutely need him. On that note, Signless, not that I don't appreciate the attempt to make Bro behave, but if you manage to somehow actually break him apart so much that he's gone for good, then you'd be screwing me and everyone else over. I hate the guy, and I'm not mad that you hurt him, but he's unfortunately essential, so, be careful. You warn him.
Signless talks back, but it's the kind of formless nonsense you get from all the light ghosts. Like background chatter in a cafe that you can't pick out. You can get his tone, of course, but all you're getting from that is, I'm a calm and reasonable adult with long-winded opinions. And it just reminds you of the few interactions you had with Karkat's older brother when you used to go around his place as a teenager. When Matuna talks, you get emotion, at least, although frustrating you don't know him well enough to be accurate in interpreting them. He says that he isn't planning on making a habit of it. He doesn't like hurting people. Basically, it's more efficient and less painful to scare the shit out of him one time than to not go that hard but fight him a lot, Karkat explains. Psionic shifts in the air, and you hear the sound of bones cracking.
Did you just crack your knuckles? You don't even have fingers right now, Solix says in disbelief.
Matuna talks for a moment, and you think you know more or less what he said.
Was Matuna like, oh no, what a shame if someone has to fight Bro, kind of thing? You ask, trying to be as sarcastic as you think you heard Matuna just be.
Oh, yeah, he looks really devastated about that possibility, Solix snorts, and Matuna snickers in somewhat sinister amusement.
Hell yeah, I'm getting better at reading him,
you say happily. Matuna speaks again, his words hesitant and maybe uneasy now. You're not quite sure. He laughs again, but it sounds tight, and here and there, as he speaks, his volume spikes a bit. Matuna says he's sorry, again, for last time, Solix says, in a tone that suggests that he doesn't think this conversation should even be happening.
What? No, I'm sorry. I'm the one who blew up at you when you weren't even doing anything wrong. I'm the one who misread shit, not you. You're good. We're cool. There's nothing to be sorry about,
you tell the bright, sparking shape that is Matuna. See? So, what now? Solix asks, and you're pretty sure he's basically wearing his ancestor's ghost now, as Solix's voice is coming from the exact direction you can sense Psi from.
Right. We didn't get that far with you, and I don't know what Reader taught Karkat, if anything, so I'm gonna start from the beginning, you explain.
Getting the basics clear seems, well, foundational. Wow, that was a really obvious thing to say. Shutting up, Karkat says.
Yeah, okay. You both know what actually interacting with the void through song is like, so I'm skipping that part, but that's not how the job usually goes. We have a system on the ship. We take shifts, and right now Gamzee's got most of mine, and Aradia's on 24/7 until we get you two up and running, you explain.
That can't be sustainable, Solix says quietly.
It's not long term, you agree.
It definitely seemed to wear on Gamzee when you were away, Karkat adds.
Nah, that's more because the void was right on his ass, and his ghost is an uncooperative asshole at times and doesn't have any self-preservation. What's supposed to happen is a few times a day, one of us checks out what's happening with the void and with the ship. You do a song and get the feel of what's happening. If things are really chill and in a calm patch, you can just leave it at that, but it's better practice to ping whoever your partner on call is at the time to double check what you feel. Sometimes it's harder to see one aspect of the void than the other, and if you're both looking, you get a better read on it. We call that a check. No points for guessing why. You explain.
How does that work? Karkat asks. I think I know. When we were on Somnos, I got to balance with Aradia and Dave, and they could see the void coming right for us. I didn't know what I was looking for until I saw them looking at it. Solix says. Silas adds something as well. Well, yeah, obviously that'd make it better, but it'd be easier to know what we're supposed to look out for instead of just relying on experience to teach us. Karkat answers him. He must have said about practice or something. I think I felt the balance going weird when Bro was lurking around at work. Solix adds.
Yeah, you can sense it sometimes when you're not actively checking. With that... Okay, veering into a tangent here, but whatever. We're doing this, making it happen, etc. You have light and dark ghosts, but they're not all exactly the same. Bro and GHB both tend to destroy the dark around them when they're doing ghost fuckery outside of balancing, so if Bro was lurking about doing something, it would feel lighter because of that. But that doesn't happen with Damara or Reader, and it didn't happen with the other dark ghosts before our generation, and there was another light ghost who did kind of the same thing. They can't screw with the void enough on their own to do anything to the ship, but it's enough that you can notice it. But how you actually experience that change is unique to you. Human balancers often get the hair standing up on the back of your neck feeling as standard, but I see it and feel it like it's my actual sense of balance. Radia says she hears it like static and feels it in her horns and skin. Once you start knowing what it feels like for you, then you can know what to look for when you check. You explain.
There's a choppy laugh from Psionic, and he bounds from Solix's shoulders to yours like a cat, brushing around your shoulders and the back of your head. You see Solix in front of you for a second, vision borrowed from Psionic, and feel frustration. Specifically, the frustration of someone who can see the cover art to their cool new video game, only to boot it up and be stuck in the tutorial area. Psionic pulls back from your mind and laughs again, at Solix's expense.
Sorry, you gotta learn to walk before you can run.
You tell Solix with a grin. Wigglers run, they don't walk. Even when we molt and become bipedal, you run first. Going slower means you have to balance more.
Solix informs you, just to be contrary. Maybe I can find a tiny violin on the stage to play for you, the tiniest, saddest one. Anyway, the second thing is balancing. So, if you've gone and checked and found that things are off, you have to course correct, and this you absolutely have to do with whoever your partner is. You need 2 people for that. Well, maybe Solix won't, but again, we're walking first. You tell them both.
But I definitely did something to the balance when me and Silas balanced alone.
Karkat protests. Well, okay, let me go back on that a little. When we say balance, what we mean is to fix whatever's out of whack and bring the ship back to neutral to hide us. On your own, you can only make things lighter, or to a lesser amount push the light away. If what the ship needed to get level again was more dark, you'd be kinda screwed. So, if you two were running around pushing the light back, then you were balancing, but it wasn't a balance. You didn't bring the ship to neutral. To make sure you can do that, you need at least one person on each side working together at the same time. That's balance. You explain.
What about when we were on the shuttle on the way to Somnos? Solix asks.
Right. Good question. Because we needed to leave Gamzee and Fazer here, but also needed 2 shuttles, me and Aradia were balancing at a distance, which is both hard and not a good idea. It would have worked if the void hadn't been screwing us so badly. We were balancing together using the same song, but the void got its claws into Aradia and started using her to make their shuttle way too light so it could eat it, which wouldn't have happened if I'd been right up close to her. So I had to, on my own, drag in all the darkness that I could get so it evened Aradia's shuttle out, but it screwed us because I couldn't bring us back lighter. So, see, it wasn't balanced because I was effectively on my own. You explain.
When you're on your own, you're limited then.
Karkat asks, and you nod. Both because you're one-sided and because you can pack a bigger punch when you're teamed up with someone. It's harmonics or something. So you're always stronger with someone else. I guess, except... Never mind. I'm getting ahead of myself. You say with a shrug. Well, now I have to know, Solix tells you. Yeah, same. Karkat agrees. Okay. I guess it's relevant for now. Even if it's only so I'm telling you to not do this thing. You say sternly, and they silently wait for more explanation. Every balancer has a motif. You start. What's a motif? Solix asks, interrupting you from telling him the answer. In movies or video games, it's the music you get that's associated with a person or idea. It gets rewritten a lot in the same score so that core motif part is the same, but it's edited to reflect whatever else you have going on. It's like a theme. Karkat explains for you. Right. For balancers, it's a song. There's a song out there for everyone that resonates with your soul, or whatever part of you someday will be a ghost. It doesn't always make sense, and some people never find it. But if you do work yours out, you have to be really careful. If I perform mine, I drown everything in darkness. It's basically waving an open buffet sign at the void. So, you never perform your own, or let someone perform yours with you. You tell them. But you could do Gamzee's or Aradia's right now, since they're not here? Solix asks. I could, but generally you don't. I'd also have to give them a heads up just to be safe. If you catch someone off guard with their motif, you can end up dragging them into it, and then you've got the same problem of drowning everything. You shrug. You'd prefer not to perform either of their songs if you can help it. What songs are they? Aradia gave me a list, Solix says slowly, and you hear claws on glass again. Yeah, I've seen that list. She didn't put them on it because she's not a dumbass. Ours are with our portraits over the bar. Current balancers go up there with their name, call sign, and motif on there. Old ones are... Your speech fails you for a moment. You didn't talk about the pictures above the bar when you were in here with Gamzee getting drunk off your ass, and you still can't see it now. But it's entirely likely that there's just 3 portraits up there. Or 5, if the others have been really proactive about getting Solix and Karkat up there. There's a whole section of the other walls devoted to balancers past, and now Fazer is going to be there. You could ask them if Fazer's picture is still there, but you're not sure you want to hear it. Which is stupid. He's still dead. You sang at his funeral, even if you were all the way down on Somnos and not up here. You've done balancer stuff without him. But seeing Fazer's picture move from above the bar to the wall with the other dead balancers is something you're not entirely prepared to face yet. Wait, I think I've heard Gamzee's one before, Karkat says slowly. I doubt that. It's not like he'd have gone around singing it. The point is that you don't do that. You remind him. I'd ask what the point of a motif is then, but it looks like this balance stuff isn't for anything. Like, you don't look at atoms and wonder what they're doing that for. It just is, right? Solix says, and you smile. He is quick. Exactly. It's just how it is. Maybe there's a better way to describe that stuff, but I'm not offering to be anyone's test subject. I know it seems basically useless, except for being a fuck up everyone's day move, but that's how it is. If you find out what yours is, and trust me, you'll know. You let everyone else know real fast. Huh. Actually, I wonder if you'd have 2, or if you just wouldn't have one at all. Like, intensely pulling light and dark at the same time would just be aggressively neutral. You wonder. But I'm sure, Karkat murmurs, and you think he's turned around in his seat to look at the bar again. Aggressively neutral sounds so unexciting. Solix laughs. A curse upon you, sir, I'll fall again fast. Your days have been numbered. Shut up! You shout at him, and Karkat falls silent. In fact, from the muffled sound, you think Solix has his hand over Karkat's mouth. I tell you specifically not to do a thing, and what do? You hiss at him. On the table, your palm husk pings. The fuck was that? Fucking Karkat doing the thing I told him not to do? Stand by. Let me see if there's a problem or if he didn't get far enough through it. Man, if he did, I'm gonna need Raya's help. She's sleeping, so check shit out before you ping her name. Hold. Great. Now I need to check. Watch, I guess, but keep your goddamn mouth shut, Karkat. Jesus! You groan. I'm sorry! Karkat insists loudly, but you shake your head and focus. You yank Bro to you, and don't wait to see what he's going to make of seeing the other ghosts. Instead, you start to sing, leaning back in your chair so your posture is at least a little better for singing. It's not as if he participates or you need to interact with him, he just needs to be reasonably close. Strictly speaking, you could run a check without him there, seeing as you're not influencing the void as such, just checking it out. But mostly you don't have to bother summoning him, since he can feel what you're doing and shows up.
A recruiting sergeant came our way from the inn near town at the close of day.
Your voice cuts through the bar, deadening all conversation around you. Without having to suggest it, people at the other tables start making a beat with toes tapping on the floor and hands hitting tables. Your crew and a few others start to join, but pay enough attention to not drown you out.
Oh, poor Johnny, what'll happen to ya?
You can feel the light and dark of the other ghosts around you, as well as Solix and Karkat themselves. Nothing feels really wrong here, aside from Bro being present, which is always on some level wrong. It's just not what you're looking for. You look further out through the ship, your awareness skating over people in places as fast as, dark.
Oh, poor Johnny, what'll happen to ya?
Your sight flares out past the ship to take in the vessel as a whole. It feels fine. You shift your attention from it to the pursuing void behind you.
Swords and bayonets thrusting through. Poor Johnny fell, but the day was won, and the king is grateful to ya. But your soldiering's done and they're sending you home. Oh, poor Johnny, what'll happen to ya?
You nearly falter and fail the next line when you catch Solix's voice joining your own. He's singing properly without too much in the way of nerves. Maybe all the other people around him help, but for a verse you're not looking outside of the ship and instead feeling the crackling bright shadow feel of him in the balance.
You'll have to go out on the streets and beg. Oh, poor Johnny, what'll happen to ya?
Okay, cool, Solix. Focus on the job, Dave. You look at the void again properly. It's thankfully not as close as it had been before your jump, but you really prefer it when there's even more space between you still. It doesn't feel off balance or like you suddenly fed it a bunch. The song clearly caught on Gamzee's awareness, but maybe since Karkat is light and you only got a little bit into part of it and even got some of the words wrong, it's okay.
Oh, Polly, love, oh, Polly, the rout has now begun, and we must go a-marching to the beating of a drum. Come dress yourself all in your best and come along with me. I'll take you to the cruel wars in high Germany.
You dart down back through the ship and seek out the familiar dark of Gamzee to see if things have got weird around him. It registered enough to pull on him, so maybe it messed with the balance locally around him. Gamzee is the other dark point within the ship, or the other one that's alive, at least. You zone in on him without paying much attention to where exactly he is. Your awareness and shadowy sight flicker to Gamzee, to the dark outline of him in another hive, with a familiar soft shadowy shape by his side with Tavros's distinctive horns. Gamzee's head turns as you drift through, but nothing feels amiss here either. You slip away and brush past Aradia's hive, but there's nothing off kilter there either. You're good, so you settle back to yourself in Tortuga as the song wraps up.
Oh, cursed be the cruel wars that ever they should arise, and out of merry England pressed many a man likewise. They took her Harry from her, likewise her brothers three, and sent them to the cruel wars in high Germany.
Okay, I need to troll Gamzee. I also need to get you two on this. You mutter as you type. Okay, we are good. No need to wake anyone up more than we have. Cool. Think you could tell Karkat to not do that? I specifically did that. And sad clown face is my cue to leave. Gamzee says don't do that. Luckily we got to you in time, so let me say again, man. Don't do that. You tell him. I'm really sorry.
God, fuck. Could you give me any more basic instructions? Not really, and yet I'm still somehow screwing up, Karkat says dramatically. With anyone else, you'd assume that level of drama was deliberate overacting, the kind that means insincerity. But no, it's just Karkat being very intense about his feelings and self-recrimination. Okay, so if that's Gamzee's motif, and Karkat had heard it before, that means he's used it at some point, so what gives? Solix asks, and it's a fair question. I overheard Gamzee singing it down here with Fazar on the day he died, Karkat explains. That makes sense, actually. You don't need your ghost for your motif. Like I said, you use your own ghost, or soul, or whatever you want to call it. So, if Gamzee's shitty ghost wasn't cooperating, and we were being inundated with light, it makes sense to use his motif as a dark balancer to knock everything back the other way. You explain. Speaking of shitty ghosts, you look around at Bro and just catch the dark shadow on your supernatural sight before he vanishes through the floor. Clearly he doesn't want to be around, and from the way you can hear Psionic laughing, you don't have to guess too hard to figure out why that might be. I'm really sorry. Karkat apologizes again, quietly. Just be careful, yeah? I know what I'm doing enough and how to do music that isn't anything to do with balancing. I could read those lyrics out if I wanted, but you don't have the experience yet to be sure you're not doing it without meaning to. You warn him. Signless says something, but again, you can't understand it. He says this whole motif thing seems like a game of North Alternian roulette. I have no idea what that is, Karkat explains. Like Russian roulette? You ask after a moment's thought. Signless talks, and then Karkat translates, but you hear Solix stifle a laugh as Karkat speaks. He says it was this stupid thing. You partly loaded a gun that had a magazine that randomized or something, so it was up to chance if you'd get shot or not. And apparently you'd be trying to shoot yourself for some reason? What the fuck? Karkat repeats. Yeah, that's Russian roulette. The gun's a revolver. There's a barrel that spins. You see it in old Western movies? What are you laughing at, huh? You direct that last part to Solix. I don't know if it says something about letting bored people have firearms or something about both of our species, but the fact that the same thing was invented twice is really funny. Solix snickers. Of course you find that funny. Karkat groans. I'm not surprised. You agree with a sigh, but Solix is unashamed at his dumb joke. Okay, different question. Is it just a completely random chance of finding your motif? As in, until you find it, every song is a game of roulette? Or is there something to look out for? Karkat asks. It's kind of luck, I think. Or fate, if you're inclined to believe that. But also, some songs generally seem to be less likely to end up as someone's motif. Though it's not like I'm hoarding some big database here. This is just from balancers I've met on this ship and others. You say with a shrug. There seems to be some kind of theme, although Aradia's siren song sounds the least concerning just from the title. Obviously, I don't know how those all sound the whole way through, but Gamzee's is The Curse, and Dave's literally has revenge in the title. Solix observes. I'm pretty sure sirens drown people, Karkat points out. Okay, they're all ominous. Are all motifs like that, or what? Solix asks. It's not like we picked them, they just resonate with you. But asking if all motifs are unsettling is because that's a feature of motifs, or if it's because this whole job puts us in contact with unsettling shit and that leaves a mark on us is kind of hard to answer. Thinking about it, Sam's mentor's motif wasn't all that unsettling, but then again, he was a balancer back on Alternia. He was a famous musician and, a cult leader, I think. I never met him, but everyone said he was pretty chill. Light balancer? He should be on the wall somewhere over there. Marvis, purple guy? His song was in English, but he really liked it, and got his septum done because of it. His motif was called Voodoo Man. You explain. Would listening to a recording of a song make you realize what your motif is, or do you need to hear it live? Because I've listened to pretty much everything Aradia gave me at least once. Solix asks.
Nope, it's gotta be live. But you should definitely study up on all those songs so you know the words. Maybe I should pick out some to...
You falter as your palm husk buzzes on the table.
You really hope that's not Gamzee or Aradia. Should pick out some songs so that you can properly sing with me next time. Let me check this.
You finish as you pick your palm husk up.
Dave, I apologize for the sudden message, but I have an urgent matter to discuss with you. What is it? 'Cause just knowing it's important isn't making me sure what I should be feeling here. Is this a delay for my eyes, or did you find something way worse from the test you were in before and I'm stuck like this forever? Oh, fiddlesticks, I didn't mean to imply that at all. The opposite, actually. Your eyes are ready, although I want to see more data about this Skya place to make your next set, but nevertheless, I can install your new eyes now. Oh, hell yeah. When? Now. Oh, you meant literally. Yes, I am able to get a surgical window in around now, but I appreciate that this is very short notice. One sec. Can I cut this short? Equius just hit me up saying he can eyeball me right the fuck now. Could we do this again tomorrow or whenever, and you two listen to the songs Radia got you? You ask, hopefully.
He can do it right now?
Solix asks in surprise. Yeah. You nod quickly.
Go then! Don't wait for us!
Karkat insists.
Go!
Solix agrees. Hell fucking yeah. Later. Beck, come on. You say, and get to your feet in a rush.
You shoot a message to Equius telling him that you're on the way. You hurry from the bar with Beck at your side and start the familiar path to the hospital. It's not like you have perfect knowledge of the ship or anything, but when your eyesight is gone, you tend to follow a few set routes. Between your hive and Tortuga, between either of those and the hospital, from yours to your dad's place, yours to Terezi's, etc. There's deviations, of course, and you go other places, but those routes you know the best. Suffice to say that going from Tortuga to the hospital is well practiced, and it means you can type and walk at the same time.
Jade, can I ask you a favor? A Beck favor?
What is it?
So, Equius is getting me in kind of last minute to get my eyes done, but I got the impression that it was really last minute and squeezing me in, which might mean that either there's not room for Beck in there, or there might be people there who aren't cool with Beck being there like Equius is. So, since I don't know what's up, could you meet me there at the hospital and hold on to him if they're not cool with him being there?
Oh, yeah, actually, I'd really like to do that.
You're sure? 'Cause I know it's super last minute, and you were probably doing stuff or had plans.
Well, okay, yes, I am, but I would really, really like Beck around. Especially if you're not going to be blind and needing him.
Oh, are you okay?
Oh, don't worry about me, really. It would just be a big help to have Beck back.
Yeah, because he's trained to help you with anxiety and depression. Like, before he was trained for anything for me, that was his job. And if you need him, I'm happy to hand him over, but I'm concerned. I still love you, Jade. That didn't change.
I know. Sorry, it's just that I feel bad complaining to you after everything that's happened.
Gonna Uno reverse card your argument here. You should talk to me, because I know better than anyone else how much it sucks to find out that your family fucking sucks and would kill people you care about to get what they want. Like, I'd say I'm pretty uniquely positioned to get that.
You're right. I know you are. She won't talk to me, and I don't understand why she did any of that and how much of everything was a lie. And it's not like I can talk to Jake much, because everything with him and Dirk is all fucked up. I guess I'm not really doing too well right now.
I get that. Hey, you can take Beck, and he can help you. Just meet me outside the hospital, and we can talk, and as soon as I'm in Equius' hands, you can take Beck away.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm already on my way, just so you know.
At least you're there, I guess.
You're on! You do actually get to the hospital before Jade, but only just. But it's to be expected that someone as cool as you would casually take first place like that. A super cool winner, that's you. When Jade arrives, she gives you a warm hug. Wow, you're really sweaty. Did you run here or something? She asks you.
What? No, I'm not even sweaty or anything. I don't know what you mean. Here, a distraction. I mean, a dog! You say brightly, and not even a little bit out of breath.
Hey there, Beck. Have you been good? Jade asks softly as Beck pants in excited delight at seeing her.
He sunk his teeth into Solix's jeans and dragged him out of the room.
You tell her. Did you tell him to FETCH him? Jade asks, spelling it out so Beck doesn't think that you're about to play fetch and get overexcited.
Perhaps. It was incredibly funny, though, and he wasn't going to come with me in Karkat on his own, so really what choice did I have?
You ask her innocently.
Really, this is on him?
Jade snort laughs.
Karkat may have filmed it, if you want to see that later.
You offer slyly. Oh, that does sound good, Jade whispers in awe.
Definitely. Anyway, if you walk me to my date with Equius's very sterile hands, you can absolutely have one good boy in return. Beck, specifically, not me. You tell her.
Glad you made that clear, Jade says sarcastically and takes hold of your arm.
So, I'm guessing that you don't want to talk about this right now in public, you say slowly.
You guess right, Jade cuts in to say as she leads you into the hospital.
But maybe we could get dinner or lunch sometime and talk about it? Or breakfast? Brunch, even? I could go on, you say, entirely ready to continue.
Oh, I know. And, yeah, maybe we can do that. Actually, I wanted to try to see her tomorrow, to see if she'll let me in to talk to her. Could you come with me, maybe? I don't know if it'd make her more likely to let me in, but if I do get to talk to her, it'd be really helpful to have someone there so I don't end up doubting myself about what she said, you know? Jade asks. You don't know what you should say to Jade here. It seems pretty likely that she's in the stage where she's trying to make sense of all of this, to reconcile the person she knew with this new information. She wants there to be some puzzle piece that'll slot in place and make everything make sense. How do you break it to her that she's not gonna find that? Mom and Bro were pretty plainly evil. They actively went out of their way to hurt people. They didn't care about the pain they caused at all. It's easier for you to write them off, to say that they never loved you at all, that everything they said and did was some kind of mind game, and the only value you had to them was as a test subject. You couldn't give two shits as to what either of their motivations were. They suck, and you don't care. The captain, though, she's harder. Well, not for you, but for Jade. The captain loves her family, cares about the people on her ship. She jokes and is likable. She chose to follow the rules about balancers, to keep you all in secret, to make you do the job you do. Karkat says that doing that is unforgivable, that it condones your mother's work, that it treats you as things and makes everyone else complicit. You weren't really betrayed by the captain's actions. You were disappointed and pissed that she went nuclear so fast on your family, but you knew all along. You knew the deal. She gave you a reasonably sweet deal. You did what she wanted and everything was fine. But you knew that if you'd refused, things would have gone that way eventually. You're not stupid. The captain was nice to you when you complied, but that didn't mean that the old deal of do what I say or your siblings get it ever went away. Maybe your expectations are low, but it's not like you were wrong. Jade hasn't had that experience, though. She believes that people are good for the most part, that her grandmother was kind and loving. Which is true, you're not saying it's not, but if you push anyone far enough, they'll eventually do something terrible. Having a family that you love, being nice, being generally good, doesn't exclude someone from threatening murder to get compliance. Nice people can do evil things. You can't say that to her. You can't tell her that her worldview, that people are mostly good and fair, and that only terrible people like your parents or Gamzee's ancestor do terrible things. People who eat tea and cake with their wives and grandchildren don't threaten to murder innocent people. Except they do. If Jade is going to figure that out, she's going to have to come to that conclusion by herself. If she can somehow get out of this without shattering her view on people, then good for her. What you can do is stand by her side and be there for her.
Sure, I'll be there. Just say when and where. You nod.
Thanks. What about 10 tomorrow morning? I could meet you at the ground bean place and we could go from there. Jade suggests and squeezes your arm a little out of gratitude.
Absolutely. You agree.
Jade takes you all the way to Equius's room, and it turns out that you were right that the whole re-eyeballing procedure is going down somewhere else that's a little less cool with Beck, so having Jade lead you there is really helpful and was definitely a good call. You don't get Jade to hang around waiting for you because it'll probably be a good while, and she's got better things to do, as does Beck. Equius leads you into a different and smaller procedure room with a few assistants that you're not familiar with. He explains his standard operating procedure with you to them, pun not intended, and confirms what you want when it comes to pain relief, sedation, and all that stuff. You get settled in the chair as Equius explains each little thing that he's doing as he does it. You tolerate the disinfectant smell and the metal sounds of the tools. Instead, you focus on your breathing, on Equius's voice, and let your mind wander in a supervised manner. You want your thoughts to go over things that are interesting or are nice to think about. Under absolutely no circumstances are you to start thinking about your past. Trying not to think about it only makes you think about it, so instead you pick something else to think about and focus on that. Instead of the cold press of metal on your skin as they look inside your head, you think of Solix. You think about how he looked, the black and white glow of him and the dimness of your balancer vision. He's really a study in contradictions. You hear his voice as he's saying, instead of the assistants wondering if you need more medication. The sound of his voice nearly derailed you. But now you've talked with Hal and you know that there's a name for what you are, it feels easier to imagine how things could be. Easier to think about a future now that you understand what your past experiences define you as. It's not just easier to imagine what things could be like, but you're actually eager for things to get there. It's a possibility now. But he's clearly under duress. Look at his vitals. We should give him... One of the assistants starts, and your hand grips tightly on the arm of your chair.
Absolutely not. You are excused.
Equius says, his tone strongly suggesting that they leave now of their own accord, or else he's going to toss them out himself, and damn the injuries that might cause them. The assistants leave in a hurry, and Equius gives you a little time to settle, his hand resting softly on your forearm as he quietly explains to you the specs of your new eyes. Apparently, the resolution is going to be a little better. Things will be a little clearer. Not that you knew that was possible.
I did not make any changes to the procedures by which you record images or footage, so that should all activate as before. He goes on, talking for the sake of talking.
Sounds great. Let's see how they look then. You say, and take a deep breath.
Of course, if you need a break at any point, then do let me know, he says softly.
With just the two of you in the room, you can feel your heart rate lower, feel your blood pressure drop. You're safe here. Safe with him.
Hey, Equius, you say quietly.
Yes? He responds, pulling his fingers off of your right eye.
You know I trust you, right?
You ask.
I do, and I try to be worthy of that trust, even if recent... He starts. No, man, I mean, I trust you. I know you didn't know about all of that stuff until Karkat and the others blew it wide open, but that doesn't change anything. You're literally the only doc terrorist I trust. I mean, I trust my friends doing first aid, but that's not the same. When it comes to actual medical professionals, I just... Like, what's more suspect than wanting a job where you have that much power over someone? But not you. You're good. You just want to help. And I hope that helps, since I know you don't feel so great about all this stuff. You say awkwardly. You were forced into a profession where you had to have this procedure done to do the job. I wasn't leading that procedure, but I was part of that. I do not feel great about being part of a surgery you were forced to get. Aqueous admits. That's not how I see it. You reply. Oh? Aqueous says, instead of pointing out that you don't see anything at all right now. Your boss or whoever knew why I needed it, but you didn't. You didn't do it to make me do my job. You did it because you wanted to help. You fixed me up and made me new eyes over and over, or put new and better ones in me to help me, not because of me being a balancer. You did it for me, because you care about helping me. That's why I trust you. You explain. That means a great deal to me, Aqueous says, his voice high and tight. He sniffs, and you hear him move a little. From the way his other hand is positioned, you think he might be leaning back in his chair. Are you crying? You ask him suspiciously. I am trying very hard not to. It is not sterile at all. Aqueous sniffs, and you grin. This is why you trust him. Come on, make me see again. I've got somewhere I want to go. You tell him, as the resolve in your soul starts to solidify around one idea that you can ignore no longer. Oh? Aqueous asks, and leans back to you, his hands slowly touching your face once more as he resumes his work. Yeah, I've got someone I want to see. You say softly. Well, I had better get your eyes working then, Aqueous says in a tone that you know means that he's smiling. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You are gonna do it. You just need to stick to your plan and not chicken out. So just do it. You're at your front door now. All you have to do is go in there and talk to him. Okay, now, all you have to do first is back up to a reflective surface and check that you look... Nope, that's procrastinating. Wow, your hands are sweaty. You can stop to fix that situation, but now you have to go in. Is your pulse always this high? You check your watch. It is way higher than it should be for standing outside your own hive doing nothing. Fuck it! You let impulse propel you to the door, smacking the button to open it since your proximity alone opened it with your keys. The lights in the main room are off, and Solix's door is open with his lights on, but he's not in there. Taking another step or two inside, you can see that Hal's room is still open and empty, which means that either Solix is in the bathroom or hiding in your room for some reason. Or he's out, but that's an option, but then why would his lights be on? Anyone home? You call out. There's a muffled fuck from within the bathroom, which is enough to give you pause, but a few seconds later the bathroom door opens with a faint haze of steam and a slightly damp-haired Solix still pulling his shirt down properly. You're back, he smiles. He's smiling. There's water still dripping from some of the stuck-up spikes of his hair, and you've only just lost sight of a decent amount of his bare skin. You hadn't considered that having eyesight again would make this more difficult. Yeah, I sure am, unless this was some kind of out-of-body experience for me and some psychic hallucination for you. I don't know how we rule that out, though. Your mouth says, because it has to be involved, even if your brain isn't. Mysteries. Your eyes really are different now then, aren't they? Solix observes, getting closer to you so he can get a better look. Not visibly, unless you mean in comparison to having none at all. You tell him. They didn't look different to you, but maybe he's techie enough to spot something like that? Dave, they're blue, Solix says slowly. What? No, they're not. They shouldn't be. You frown. Solix gestures to the bathroom, and you take the hint and step inside. You get in front of the mirror and lean in to see that, yeah, your eyes are blue in the middle now, instead of the red they're supposed to be. See? Blue, Solix says as he moves behind you, and you look from your own reflection to him. You weren't supposed to be. I guess the software went a little glitchy. I can fix it if I... You look at your palm husk as you take it from your pocket and sigh. If I had my other palm husk working, since that's the one with the app that talks to them.
I can swap them back for you if you want, Solix offers, but you don't want to derail things more than you already have. Instead, you try to mentally focus on the shade of red you want as your organic brain tries to interact with hardware it was never meant for.
No, it's fine. I can do it mentally, it's just difficult. It's not the whole pat your head and rub your stomach processing part, but more like this wasn't designed for that, so it's more, I don't know, writing your name out with your tongue or something?
You explain slowly as you focus.
Oh, that's not hard. Done that enough.
Solix snorts.
Come on, red. Just, wait, what? Why would he have... Oh, Aradia and... Oh. Your gaze snaps to him in the mirror as 2 and 2 make the mental image of him like... Holy shit! Solix cackles and points at you. You look back at your reflection and sigh when you see that you now have one red and one blue eye. Goddamn Solix distracting you. Please let me get a picture! Solix begs, scrambling for his palm husk. You're not especially inclined until he touches your chin to tilt your head up for the camera, and then you're a lot more agreeable.
Can I?
He asks again, instead of just doing it. Yeah, whatever you want, you say, and that's still better than I'd give you one of my kidneys at this point if you keep being so irresistibly everything I want. It seems that he just wanted the picture, and you'd quite like some control of your own thoughts. So, as soon as he's taken it, you go back to the mirror and finish fixing your other eye. Regrettably, your thoughts are a little too scattered to work right now, and out of impulse you bonk the heel of your palm on that side of your head, and it doesn't help. If I could just think straight for a minute, you mutter to yourself, and then finally your eye changes and you're back to normal. You turn back to face him, and he looks at you carefully for a moment. You even got the same shade of red, too, he observes. Yeah, I have to picture it in my head, and I always go for the same one, so at least that's not a problem. You agree. Unfortunately, now that your eyes are fine again, they are starting to wander. He's pretty, and he's your friend, and you like him so much. But what if things are different now? What if Carcat has changed things, or him seeing what being a balancer is really like has changed things, or a million other things? He's just so good, so smart, so funny. So what's the catch? In your experience, everything has a catch. Though it'd be nice if the catch for this is just that he's not the gender or indeed species that Bro wants you to be with. That the given factor of Bro being an asshole is the only thing that's wrong here, and beyond that, it's exactly what you're hoping for. You know you've gone quiet, staring at him like you short-circuited your brain. Water drips from his hair and slides down his neck before absorbing into his shirt. You got a hole in your shirt, you tell him, pointing to the round hole right by the collar of his black t-shirt. Yeah. Anyway, how was surgery? Solix asks brightly as he claps a hand over the hole. Fine, you say slowly and reach for his shoulder. Solix tries to stop you, but that only makes you way more interested, and if you poke him in the side, his hand drops away and you can catch his shirt in your free hand. That sure is a big hole in it, perfectly round, too. You look at Solix, who's very pointedly not looking at you, and grin as you remember how you heard him swear from in here when you came in. If he was putting his clothes on in a rush, then... You lift his shirt up and then over ever so slightly and let go. Look at that. His right longer horn fits perfectly within the hole in his shirt. Something about the mental image of him hole-punching his own clothes with his horns because you came home and called out to him is so deeply funny. Pair that with the irritated look on his face, add a dash of you already being nervous, and you have a perfect recipe for a case of the giggles that you can't quite shake. Hilarious, Solix grumbles, fixing his shirt back in place, although he can't do anything about the hole in it. Glad you agree, you say with childish glee. Enough about my shirt. How was surgery? Solix asks irritably, straightening the damaged part of his shirt out as best as he can. It wasn't really surgery. There weren't scalpels or whatever. Aqueous had already done this stuff with my optic nerve or whatever before, and I healed well, so it was just a slightly more complicated than usual installation, which isn't fun, but it went fine. You explain, and leave the bathroom. It seems pretty quick. You weren't gone all that long. Solix points out as he follows you. Yeah, but you spin around as you walk to talk to him, only the sudden movement, added to all that visual stimulus, makes you stumble for a second. Painkillers got you a little loopy then? Solix asks slowly. Upsettingly, no. I didn't have any. I'm just naturally this stupid. You sigh. Solix still seems uncertain, so you guess you're elaborating. Sometimes when I get my vision back, especially if the strength is different, I can get a little off balance for a bit. Particularly if I'm moving like that. I'm not loopy from painkillers because I've not had any, or not any more than you'd have for a headache or a sprained wrist or something. You tell him. Wait, what? But surely there's something like that in the anesthetic of... He starts. No anesthetic. Well, a tiny bit of local, but that's it. You tell him. Solix's face shifts from disbelief to horror. At first, you think he's imagining what that's like, but the speed that he shuts that horrified expression down tells you that he's figured out why you would prefer to be present and have some degree of control during a procedure like that. Does it hurt now? He asks instead. It's a little sore. You know if you smack your head on something, but not so hard that it bruises, but it's still a little tender if you touch it? It's about that level. You shrug. Damn, I whine about having to go to the opticians or the dentist every few years, and that's nowhere near as bad as that. Kind of feel like a little bitch for complaining about it now. Speaking of, where's Beck? He asks, looking around as if Beck might have magically teleported in here when he wasn't looking. Jade wanted him back, so we traded. You explain, light in tone and on details. That's fair. Don't tell him, but I kind of miss having him around. Massively unsettling as his intelligence might be, he's endearing. Solix admits. You like him. I know he likes you too, if that helps. You say brightly. You absolutely know when Beck doesn't like someone, and he knows when you're mad at people too. I'm not sure I'd say I like him. I like that he helps you. I respect his terrifying intelligence. I do actually like petting him. But that doesn't mean I like him. It's grudging respect, Solix says, in the least convincing way you've ever heard. I'm happy that you like him, you tell him cheerfully, and sit down on the arm of the lounge plank. Solix rolls his eyes at you, definitely communicating that he adores your best canine friend, as all right-thinking people do. That is absolutely what he's saying. That sure is a silence you have between you now. Well, no smooth way to segue into this, so instead you're going to drive it right off a cliff, like that one time Jake was driving on that desert planet. We need to talk, you tell him. Oh, Solix says, suddenly wide-eyed with dread. This isn't a bad thing. Or maybe it is, but that's kind of up to you. You amend. Solix looks even less reassured than he did before. Shit! I'm making this worse, aren't I? You groan. Very few things that follow "we need to talk" are good. And the last thing you said was vaguely a threat, so... Solix points out. No! That wasn't what I was going for. You insist, desperately, waving your hands like you can bat this terrible idea out of the air. Can you get to what you were going for? Preferably before my pump biscuit explodes from stress? Solix asks you sharply. Shit, sorry. You apologize. Solix stares at you, and like that, all words vanish from inside your head. You are entirely speechless for the first time ever. How do you start? What if he... Dave! Solix pleads with you. Right. Sorry. So, Somnos. About the... When we... You choke out. Apparently, 2 words in a row is your cap for being able to speak now. This is about the kiss, Solix says slowly. Yes! I said that we should, wait until we got back here and it was calmer.
You laugh a little bitterly. It didn't really work out like that, huh? But you want to talk about it now? Solix says softly. You nod and try to breathe for a moment. I did want to talk to Rose. She helped me figure things out. That's not an option right now, but I did talk to Hal about everything. About me, I mean. He helped straighten things out with me. Pun not intended. You say with a wince. If anything, the whole situation was less straight afterwards. Right? Solix mutters. He said that it seemed like it was... what was it? Biromantic? Panromantic? But that and some remixed mashup of asexuality and homosexuality, because even when I've been interested in people, which hasn't been a lot, I'd have to like them first, and even then. But I'm not even sure if that's the right label, because you said before that you're not even sure about the gender thing, and it's not like solixsexual is a thing. Is solixsexual? Solixual? You ramble as all the words in your head suddenly decide to rush out of your mouth despite playing coy earlier. Solix stares at you, glowing eyes wide in the dimness of the main room. It's not like you turned the light on in here, but it's still on in Solix's room and the bathroom, besides which you and Trolls both have decent night vision. All it means is that the contrast between the low light and his bright eyes is visually really striking. Wait, you're saying you're still attracted to me? That wasn't some passing post-breakup lapse of reality for you? Why did you start with we need to talk then? Solix demands. Because we do. I didn't mean it to be sinister. Also, before you maim me, I'm definitely still into you. Have you seen you? 10 out of 10. Recommend having eyes, because you're pretty. You laugh weakly as you lean back away from Solix, who looks like he might still do it. He shoves you anyway, and you fall back onto the lounge plank with a thump and a squish of the soft fabric settling around you. A cushion zips off into the air above you, and Solix moves to lean over the back of the sofa and look down at you menacingly. How about you tell me what you were going to tell me? Alternatively, he suggests, leaning so he can gesture at the levitating cushion set to drop on you. I wanted to talk to you because I didn't know what you wanted. If you still wanted this. Me, I mean. You admit. Of course I do. Solix says softly, his expression shifting into something gentler, affectionate. You sit up and find yourself tense and faking your body language. You have to mentally force yourself to let your body just be. Even if it means that you can feel your shoulders pulling in like it's going to protect you, or like your arms going around you will help there. Okay, but there's more to it than that. Now that everybody knows about all of this previously secret shit, our lives are kind of public knowledge now. That wasn't the case then, and you can be into me and not want to deal with that. Solix shakes his head, and the cushion that he was floating up in the air drops harmlessly on the other end of the lounge plank. He walks around to sit on the lounge plank properly with you, and talks as he goes. I don't care if people know about us. I don't like that people have posted private shit about me online, and I'm not thrilled with the idea of people gossiping about us, but not so much that it changes what I want, he says. Right, but I'm also not sure exactly how cool I'm gonna be with physical stuff. Not that I haven't thought about it, because I have. A lot, you say, and watch the way one of Solix's eyebrows raises at that. But what I mean is, just because something sounds great in my head doesn't mean I can be totally for sure that I can promise that. I'm going to leave the part about you thinking about that a lot alone for now. Solix starts. Thanks, you mumble, your hands pressed to your face in embarrassment. As for the rest of it, I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not incredibly interested in all of that. Would I love to pay you? 1,000,000% I would. But I'd rather be with you than not, no matter what was on the table. I agree with Jade here. I want you more than I want that. Yeah, it'd be a deal breaker for some people, but I think I'd be fine. Solix assures you. It feels like a lot to ask, you say uncertainly. It's the bare fucking minimum to not make someone do things that are past the boundaries of what they're okay with. If you're not enthusiastic about it, people can either not do that, or they can leave, he says flatly. This is pretty much what Jade told you. You believe them both, but it's pretty hard to accept that they're being genuine about that when you know what society and media or whatever tells you is important. You want to think you're better than believing dumb shit, but it gets in your head anyway.
What about Karkat?
You ask.
What about Karkat?
Solix says back, looking thrown.
I meant, what about the fact that he's single now and he wasn't before? You two are the whole big relationship that never was. That's what I meant. Not sex with Karkat. You explain. Although, you guess it's related.
Yeah, that's not a problem for me. He and I already talked about this, since I knew it'd come up if this conversation ever happened. I just didn't expect that handbrake turn from sex to Karkat. Not that I've not... Never mind. Karkat is fine. I can deal with being locked out of being with him if I'm with you. Assuming that you're still interested in an actual relationship and me having feelings for him doesn't bother you. Solix says, uneasily.
It doesn't bother me. I get it completely. I know what the two of you are like together. It obviously works. Besides, he's cute. I get it. And I'm definitely interested in a relationship with you. That's what I was hoping for here.
You say, nervously, like he's going to let you get this far through all of this and then say that he wasn't interested at all and this was all a weirdly elaborate lie. I'd really like that, but we should probably be smart and talk about some basic ground rule type things. Solix nods dumbly, staring at you. Literally, you can see the way he's openly staring at you, his gaze darting from your eyes to your mouth to the rest of you. Like, he can't kiss you or touch you just yet, so he's making do with looking real hard.
You've forgotten that I can see what you're looking at now, haven't you?
You ask him with cheery delight at the panicked expression your question causes. Anyway, I was talking about things we should get straightened out first, Solix says intensely, like that can just override what you said.
If you straighten me out, we have a different problem.
You laugh, and Solix glares at you. Actually, that's a good lead-in to what I wanted to talk about. Since this is pitch, or mostly pitch, we should talk. I'm not a fan of someone hurting me just because they can. It doesn't prove that they're better than me or that they beat me at anything, so it's pointless and would just hurt. I'm guessing you don't want that either, he says, and you can feel yourself tense, ready to bolt.
No, I can't do that, you say, as quickly as possible.
Right? But the other day I kicked you and stole your drink, he says with a sly little smile.
You little shit, you move so goddamn fast, I couldn't believe it.
You laugh as the tension passes. Yeah, well, I wanted to win, Solix says softly, and reaches out to brush some hair out of your face. You don't think it needed fixing, you think he just wanted to touch you, and you've got no complaints there.
That's different, though. You weren't trying to hurt me.
You point out, and catch his hand so you can hold it in your own. I wanted to hurt you a little, just so I could get what I wanted and annoy you, Solix says, with a sharp little smile.
Right, but... Okay, what about instead of never ever, what about if it was more like... Don't deliberately try to scare each other, and nothing more painful than something where you'd shake that limb off or whatever and insult them in response, you suggest.
I guess you'd call that playful aggression or something. What about claws? I don't exactly keep mine sharp, but... Solix turns his hand in yours and digs his claws into your skin. They're more or less as blunt as your fingernails are, and they're not as long as some trolls keep theirs. Lonks are goddamn deadly. You dig your fingernails into his skin in return, just as hard. Neither of you are going super hard about this. It's uncomfortable, verging on sore, but you're not fearful that he's going to maim you or anything.
They're basically the same as mine, so same rule, I guess?
You shrug. Solix nods and soothingly runs his fingers over the places on your arm where his claws were. They're pretty easy to see since your skin is so pale and redness shows really quickly on you. It's sweet. He's sweet.
What about you? You ask him, and he looks up from his arm to meet your gaze. Me? He says, dumbly. Yes, you. You're not into pain, and it'd fuck me up. We've covered the sex thing, but what about you? What do I need to know before getting into this when it comes to you? You ask him. Me? Solix repeats. Yes, you. You sigh. I don't think there's anything. I don't know. I never really thought about it. Solix tells you. Think about it then. You say flatly. Solix is clearly trying to come up with something, but he's not getting anywhere. Maybe you can help. You gotta give me more than or I'm gonna lick your glasses and it'll take you ages to clean them. You threaten him. Solix narrows his eyes at you behind said glasses. See, that's what I mean about actual pitch antagonism. There was thought involved in being that irritating specifically to me. That's way more pitch than just swinging a punch my way. That said, if you lick my glasses, I will bite you. Solix hisses that last part at you. Oh no, you say, trying for sarcastic and ending up with an anxiously high-pitched, hopeful tone instead. Holy fuck, no! We're trying to get through this one sensible adult conversation about boundaries instead of dumbly making out like stupid teenagers who are then gonna be surprised when they do something wrong. Come on, you were smart earlier by starting this conversation. We're so nearly there. Solix groans. So, tell me what hit your oh so much no buttons like we did with me. You remind him. He's the one you're waiting on, after all. Solix hesitates, but finally speaks. I was going to say nothing because there's nothing they'd get to me that you do, but then the same goes for everything you had. So, talking shit to me about being in the helm or talking about batteries like I could be one is absolutely off. I know some golds almost have a thing for that, and I'm not here to talk shit about anyone's way of coping with our color's horrific history, but someone acting like I'm a thing or their tool to be used is... I'd launch myself into another reality to get away from that, he says with a shudder. Yeah, that's why I was hesitant about tattooing batteries on you, but with you asking for it as a fuck that kind of thing, it was different. You agree. Right. The only other thing I can think of is... Again, it probably won't come up, but you know I'm bipolar. You saw me do the whole shot thing. He starts. Oh! Later, can you show me what that looked like? I know you said it wasn't that exciting, but I'm interested. You interrupt him. Sure. The point is that it doesn't happen so much now because of that, but I do still get changes in my mood, and it fucks me up a lot worse than that sounds like. But being... I don't know how to put it. When people ask if something I'm doing or saying is because I'm manic or depressed, even when I'm not, is the absolute fucking worst. Obviously, if I am off balance, then yeah, keeping an eye on how I'm doing is fine, but... Solix gestures helplessly. Aw, poor thing, you don't know how to deal with this disability you've had your whole life. Let me patronize you about it, because I know what is and isn't hard for you more than you do. That? You snort. Yes, that! Solix says, snapping his fingers and pointing at you. Yeah, I hate that shit. Obviously, it's different for me, but it's the same brand of shitty, and since you were good with me when I couldn't see and didn't patronize the shit out of me, I think we got each other there. You nod. Actually, I had wanted to talk to you about all of this before. I wanted to make sure you knew that nothing had changed for me. I didn't want you thinking that how you've been since we've got back, experiencing everything falling apart and having feelings about that and being blind didn't change things. It's not like I saw you as less of a pitch rival or anything. He tells you. The way he says that, the way he so plainly says that he doesn't see you as someone less than or as the vulnerable kid you were once, and that he's happy that you don't see him as some unstable wreck, makes you feel more seen than you've ever been. Cool. Awesome. Great. So, no real violence, don't be shitty about helm stuff or disabilities, play sexual stuff by ear and see as we go. Fantastic. Brilliant. So glad we've got out of the way. Are we good? Can I kiss you now? Because if not, saying something like that and making me want to that bad is definitely against some laws about cruel and unusual punishment. you say, in what you hope doesn't sound painfully eager, but you're starting to not care either way. Solix smiles, slow and bright. You can see his sharp teeth and see how they're not all even and straight, and maybe some people wouldn't like that, but you do. Not because you have a thing for that, but because they're his, and it's his smile. You're considering telling him that, but the fact that he slides closer to you on the lounge plank stops your mind skittering over every other idea you have, and laser focuses in on the possibility of kissing Solix. To your delight, he leans in, gently touching your face as he finally kisses you. It is like finally breathing, just like you told Hal it was. It's so different to anything else, and you want him so badly. Only, it occurs to you, as you move closer to him, to kiss him more intently, that you don't just want him, but you actually have him now. You've nowhere to be, and nothing else you'd rather be doing right now that isn't kissing Solix on your lounge plank. You'd like to say that because of all of that, you're able to be restrained and chill about kissing him again. Unfortunately, you put all of your stats into being very cool, but not incredibly chill, so what's actually happening is you're already somehow in his lap with your hands holding onto his already punctured shirt, like you think if you let go, he'll vanish. You kiss him, and it's so perfect. It's everything you never knew you wanted. What's more than that is the plainly evident fact that he wants you back. He can't keep his hands to himself, and every place he touches sears into your skin. It's not like he's pushing it and grabbing your ass or something, although you wouldn't be mad about that. But it's every little touch combined. The trail of his fingers along your jaw as he kisses you, the path they take through your hair, how one hand has slipped under your shirt to rest on the top of your hip and your bare side. It's the way his grip on your hip goes tight and his claws press into your skin when you kiss him harder. It's everything. When you finally have to break apart, you're breathless. Kissing him might be like finally breathing metaphorically, but you have to breathe enough literally too, and it's hard to do that indefinitely through just your nose when you're this into it and your heart is going that fast. Fuck, you say breathlessly. You're beautiful. And it's true. He's looking at you all starstruck, but he's genuinely beautiful. His expression shifts into something a little flustered, and you hope you didn't say the wrong thing. Is that not the right thing to say? You ask, finding yourself on unfamiliar ground. No, that's not it. I don't think anyone's ever called me that before. No, I think Carcat once called me a beautiful, self-fulfilling, endless disaster machine once. Solix says with a shake of his head. What, Aradia never called you beautiful? Is that not a pitch or flush thing to say, or is it a guy thing? You wonder. You're distracted for a moment as one of Solix's hands runs up your thigh, but you make yourself focus when he talks again. Maybe? I don't know. She just said I was cute, or hot, or adorable, or pretty. Solix says thoughtfully. Can I call you that? If it bothers you, I can just follow you around with a thesaurus until we settle on something. You offer with a grin. You can, and I'm saying that with confidence because I absolutely believe that you'll follow me around doing that. I know what you're like. He accuses you, accurately. You're getting ready to go all, well, I never, and such baseless accusations, but Solix has worked out that kissing you is a fun way of derailing the Dave Hoofby shit express. You're not exactly complaining, so you get sidetracked for a good long while like that. I kinda can't believe this is really happening. You admit later, as you kiss the place where his jawline turns into earlobe, and then nip it with your teeth, just because you can. I still feel like I'm going to wake up like last time I had a dream about you. Solix mumbles. You pull back from your exploration of his alien ear shape to look at him. Curiosity bubbles in you as Solix's face flickers through embarrassment that he said that aloud, but you're not letting it go now. What dream did you have about me? You ask him curiously. Solix groans and covers his face with his hands, so you poke at him until he finally relents and tells you. Alright, this was after you went on that
weird tangent on the mountain about the sparkly suit, the magician's assistant or Playboy bunny thing? He groans, not quite looking at you.
2 questions I need to know the answers to right now. Was I wearing that, and was I pulling it off?
You ask him with urgency. You gotta know! Yes and yes. Man, it was one of those dreams where you're almost lucid, and I was picking up like, for some reason I don't think this is really happening. You were on my bed in that getup and wearing those shoes at the same time, too. Solix says, pointing to your favorite red shoes by the door.
I approve.
You nod. At one point I was like, I've definitely seen Dave's bare legs, and I'm sure he has leg hair. His hair might be white, but he's still a human, but Dave doesn't. Solix says, as one of his fingers slides up your ankle so the back of his fingers just brush the side of your lower leg. You do have body hair. Not an awful lot. None of your biological family do. But, as Solix pointed out, you're a human and a mammal, so you have some degree of hair more or less everywhere, even if it's fine and barely visible. You open your mouth to speak, but Solix cuts you off and even holds his hand over your mouth to stop you talking. I pointed this out in the dream, right? And Dream told me that he was offended that I thought he'd dress like that and not commit to the bit and make himself all hairless like some pinup or whatever. Solix tells you, and you break away from Solix's hand to laugh.
Dream Me has a point. See, you do know me. I also would do that if I dressed like that. Man, now I kind of want to try it and see. Gotta find an excuse to throw a costume party or something.
You say wistfully. The thought occurs that June would throw a party like that, but you're veering away from topics that aren't making you happy right now. You just want to enjoy this. Anyway, I feel a little like I'm going to wake up and this isn't going to be real, that I'll wake up and won't be your kismesis. Solix admits quietly.
I get that. Although, you're not actually my kismesis, you point out.
No, I know. We said that pitch wasn't fully accurate or whatever, but you know what I mean. Boyfriend, then. Solix says, waving his hand around like he can shape out the idea of what you are together. Inside your stomach, you can feel something that's probably adrenaline. That eagerness to follow through this little trap that you're laying out for Solix, that he hasn't seen yet. Because you know what kind of reaction you'll get, and you're chronically unable to resist trying to get that reaction. Though now you're allowed to do this. So of course you're going to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right that it seems like it's mostly pitch, but maybe a bit redder because humans make things weird. I don't have a problem with saying it's all spadeways as shorthand. It's accurate enough for me. But I didn't say I was your boyfriend either.
You tell him. Solix frowns, uncertain, and then looks a little uneasy. Oh, yeah, I guess we'd sort of skipped the asking out part of all that. We got on the same page and got rules down and then got sidetracked. Solix says, and looks at how you're definitely in his lap.
Yeah, you're right. But that's not what I meant either.
You say, trying to keep the sly smile off of your face.
Then what?
Solix asks, and he's starting to look a little concerned now, so you're not going to keep dragging this out. You lean in close to him, enjoying being this close to him, and how he holds on to you like you might leave if he doesn't. You drape one arm over his shoulder and press your other hand to his chest. When you speak, you keep your voice low and quiet.
I think we already agreed that you were going to be... And you dip into your most movie parody Western cowboy accent. My partner. Yeehaw!
Solix stares at you for a split second, eyes wide and incandescently bright. His expression goes from surprise to outrage, just like that. His claws dig into your skin, and you shriek in both delight and alarm as he throws you both flat onto the lounge plank for that awful joke that you strung him along with. He hisses that he hates you right as he bites your neck out of revenge and kisses it better right after. You tell him that you hate him back in the sweetest kind of way, but you can't right now. You can't stop laughing in delight. It's not that you don't remember being this happy before, but never in your life has everything felt so right for you.